This is offline.
It just kicked on. Hello. You may not be aware, but we are live streaming here. I take my glasses off so I can not see you any better.
So you don't look like me.
Yeah, so we don't look like we're cut from the same cloth. The Patagonia cloth.
No, you're not wearing one.
No, you are. I knew you were going to be.
Let's see if you can fucking hear us.
I'm here at Volvo to
Oh, no.
find out.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes, so the audio is professional today. How we doing?
We're
Excellent.
waiting for our admin to let me know that this went well.
Oh, it's going to go well. I set it up. You know
You
it's
said
going
the
to work.
audio. Oh yeah, you said the last couple.
But the audio is working.
Yeah, let me. They say it is, but I'm waiting for our admin Chin Face to hop on.
I'd like to welcome everybody. It is 5 o'clock. You are right on time, and so are we for once. And this is going to be an explosive question and answer. As you can see, the title of this is Extreme Q&A, Making Deal and Automotive Lifestyle. So apparently it was translated from a different...
Our interns,
Yeah.
our interns in overseas.
So if you want to make deal... All right. So let's start this off. We're going to kick this off by...
Chin Face says we sound incredible. Like master recording levels incredible.
Okay, now here's the deal. Everything is battery powered.
Yeah, okay.
So our mic packs, the receivers, the camera, all of that is battery powered. So you know that you're going to eventually this is going to die, and that's when we're going to end it.
Chin Face just said, Games Rock 22 sent us $10, and he just wanted to show us his support. Now, Games Rock 22, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We like that. I just did some power saving measures, so hopefully that didn't affect the stream. Let's start off with talking about current events, Jack. We had some Patreon questions that
We did, but there's very quickly I wanted to ask Fresh Till Death, answer Fresh Till Death 56's question, because he's a young 24-year-old and he's looking at a new Mazda 3. Should he buy one?
Yes, contact James Orton at
Crystal Lake Mazda Anderson.
Crystal Lake Mazda, if you have any questions. He will make sure that he's not a dick and he's not going to try to sell you something, but he does work at the Mazda dealership. But if you have any questions, he's like one of the nicest guys we've ever met, and he's stuck around for quite a while.
Alphaback Brackley for $2 just said you should take those $2 and treat yourself, Mark, because you set up the audio.
Oh yeah, I just set the audio up with about $20,000 worth of equipment here. That barely
For us to live stream?
Yeah, for us to live stream for an hour and a half.
Gabriel Young for $5. I'm glad you bought a new Kia Stinger GT2. Congratulations.
So we have to say we bought one now because is he
No,
talking to
he
us?
bought one. Yeah, he bought
Oh, I
one.
thought you said we bought one.
Oh no, he bought one.
Oh man, we haven't driven it yet. The new one.
I'm sure it's amazing. It's a Kia. It's just incredible.
Because he donated, it means it's amazing.
It's the best car
by
ever.
default. So if you
it's better than a GT3 RS.
No, nobody. We're not talking about expensive cars.
How far from Molina, Illinois, are you, Mark?
Oh, that's pretty far, actually. Let me do a quick search while you answer the next question, Jack.
So we have a bunch of Patreon questions we're going to answer. We're going to answer about 5 of them really quick before we get into your paid questions. Because whenever we do this hour and a half live stream turns in like 5 hours, and I take years off my life. So
It's an hour and 10 minutes from us.
to answer the Molina question. All right, so here are some good questions that I thought you would really enjoy. And I wanted to start off with a viewer's question, a Patreon's question about the DBX and why instead of a DBX, we did a Buick Encore GX video instead. So Andy Lab is getting a DBX to review while the Geese are doing Buick Encore videos. How do you plan on competing in the new animal-led market?
I can't compete in the animal-led market. I don't have pets, and the pets that I do have are the creepy crawlers that I've somehow managed to harvest in my underwear. So
But you're never truly alone, Mark.
that's true. So I'm not going to be able to pitch a major manufacturer on the fact that I have crabs, and can I put the crabs in their DBX? That's not going to work. I mean, hermit crabs.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Hermit crabs.
Yeah, I got hermit crabs. I've had them since I was a kid. They've lasted 74 years.
This is a true story. I've always wanted to buy like one of those turtles that live for hundreds of years to traumatize like one of my great descendants. There's gonna be like some 12-year-old kid who gets a 300-year-old turtle and it dies.
Yeah, it's on their watch the first night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the turtle on life support just so you can scar the kid for life the first day they get it. So this is a not serious question, but it is a serious question. And I think I wanted to talk about this from the pure perspective of where we're going, because there was another question about where do you see this going in 5 years?
Yeah, we'll both be dead.
Pretty much, I'll be in the hospital for sure, or in a nursing home. But here's the thing that I've been trying to tell Jack this for a while, and it's a good balance because I'm on one extreme and you're kind of on the other.
Yeah, you're just like, fuck it.
Yeah, you're like a go-getter, like, dude, I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna make this happen, I'm not gonna quit, I'm gonna show the value, and I'm like, fuck these guys. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on the other extreme of why are we putting so much effort in for no reward, or like somebody that doesn't care. So really where we're at is like the Aston was a good example. Jack wanted to do a Vantage and he was able to get in contact with the rep, and the rep kind of hemmed and hawed, and we finally got one, and then it was just kind of like, oh,
Pretty cool.
and that was it. So when he asked for the DBX, like, nah, we're probably not gonna have one in the area. Thanks for reaching out. Like the most generic answer. And Jack's trying so hard to like build these relationships, which is exactly what you should be doing. You're taking care of the business side, and I'm like, dude, we need to stop wasting our time on companies or people that don't value what your strong suits are. If they don't value it and they don't want to work with you, don't chase them, because there's plenty of other companies and people now that we've met that really want to feed into it, be a part of it, and that's where I want to spend my energy.
Well, it depends on the brand rep, and that's what I mean. Literally, these last 2 weeks have probably been the most eye-opening experience. I told you or at least when I went to the Toyota headquarters event, seeing the fact that they appreciate what we're doing from an engineering perspective, and on top of that, actually from a production quality perspective, and the stuff with Porsche. We are doing a fairly substantial documentary with Porsche on the GT3s, and they're all about supporting us on this project. And there are certain brands where you will show them your worth as far as work goes. JLR is a good example of that. And the reality is these people don't get paid or to do extra work. All they care about is the base minimum amount of work. So from our perspective, working with us means more work. You got to talk to engineers.
It's not more work money-wise, usually. Well, they're not paying us, but it's more work to provide us with the resources, to cater to like the technical questions, which means they have to send 20 more emails and call this person, and then that person actually has to do work. And then it's like, dude, why are we doing this?
If they have no incentive, why would they do it?
Right, yeah.
And there's certain brands with certain reps, like Mazda as well.
Yeah.
Drew Carey, the guy who runs their PR marketing side, is amazing because he cares about the cars, he cares about the engineers working on it, and he values the perspective that, at least in our case, we know what moves product. People get excited, et cetera, et cetera.
But it's finding that balance between me, like, dude, I don't want
and you're maxed out.
Yeah, I just don't care. Like, if you're not going to put the resource, because it's really, at the end of the day, it's kind of helping them. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, you're giving us a car, you might actually get somebody to buy it, and we don't get anything out of it other than getting a car and then trying to, just tell a story about it. It's not our own car, so why are we trying so hard?
But Aviation and Autos by Michael, does this mean we get a Buick documentary featuring the marketing team?
Yes, absolutely.
If you're watching this live stream, all 500 of you, I highly suggest you watch the Buick Encore Grande video.
It's not Grande.
It's GX.
No, it's the Encore GX. That's not the title.
Is it not
Grande?
I don't remember.
It's an American masterpiece.
Oh yeah, there we go.
We're gonna follow it up with the Envision.
Yeah, Buick's gonna be like, lose my number. So here's the next question. This is a serious one as well. What's your vision for EV and person electric vehicles? How do you preserve the soul of a driver's car in the modern world? Is it only about drivetrain, or are there other key components that make a car a driver's car? And this is from Igor.
I don't think at this point they have a good idea of it. You kind of have like Porsche and Audi doing their EVs, which that's a car company going electric. So right now I don't see it kind of in that regard. I think it's going to take some time before we get these like pure sports car EVs, and it's going to be way different. It's not going to be like how it was.
So what makes a driver's car? Let's strip that back one, because for me, right, it's the theater, and it's the fact that the machine is super competent and it does everything you asked it to do in a in performance setting. You don't fight the car; it aids you in becoming a better driver, but it's also not driving yourself. And obviously, the theater element of having a tremendous engine is also a part of that. And with the EV part of it, you lose, other than the speed, you lose some of that theater, but you can still have the dynamics.
I think you have to go to an extreme level before you start to get some of the fun back. What makes a good car really is balance across the board, right?
Yeah.
Like it has to do everything really well. And I think generationally, all of us grew up with cars that typically the best cars are a little bit louder. They have a sound character to them. They have this typical internal combustion sound. And now in EVs, you lose a lot of that. And we haven't got the rawness from EVs yet. So the only thing I can compare it to is karts. If you get an electric cart or a go-kart, they don't sound good. It just sounds like a buzzing bee's hornet's nest. So there's not really, you still get the sound there, but you can see how a car that may not have the sound at all can still be a great driving experience. It's going to take a while before we get to that place.
So for you, it's dynamics.
It's dynamics, and the way to fix a lot of the problems with dynamics is also weight. Battery packs are super heavy, so to get enough power and battery capacity to run a lot of these sports cars on a track, at least, you're going to drain packs down in 20 minutes, probably, I would think, in the modern cars. So I don't know. I think they have to be lighter. I think they have to be more purpose-built for the function of driving, and we don't really have an EV that's really purpose-built sports car type thing.
Did you drive the Tesla Roadster?
The original one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. It was not good. It weighed way too much. So it's like you're taking an Elise or an Exige platform and then hacking it up to fit the batteries in there. And while it was interesting, it just felt more cumbersome to drive.
So it felt compromised, essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me pull up the next question. Sorry, I'm for our 5 viewers who are watching today. I'm gonna pull.
No, there's 6 million, Jack.
Oh, perfect.
6 million. We're all broadcasting from my boat right now.
There was a good question about. This is a John question. Should we all start hoarding gas-powered sports cars now that we're going to do an electric future?
Yes. Let's just answer that right now. You got about 10 years. We've seen most of these manufacturers' timelines for what they want to do. And if there's some stupid, naturally aspirated car with a manual, for sure, buy that. If there's some ridiculously high horsepower car that has horrible emissions ratings, like a 1 out of 10.
Like the GT500?
Yeah, and the Hellcats, you should buy one. Basically anything like that, that window's closing. So if you want it, do it now before they get ridiculously expensive.
There was a question about Mazda that I found on the Patreon side. I'm trying to pull it up.
Find it. I'll answer another question while you're doing that.
All right.
Somebody asked, is now a good time to buy a new car? And the straight answer is now is a horrible time to buy a used car. And it's not such a great time to buy a new car because you have to buy it for MSRP or higher with the the shortages. So if you're planning on buying a new car, the only way to do it is if you have a really solid trade-in that they're going to overvalue. That's going to make up for the fact that the MSRP might pay that or a little bit above, so it'll balance it out. But you're essentially going to go in and have to order the car you want. That's the best way to buy right now, just with everything going on.
I can relate to that. My girlfriend's older sister, she is getting rid of her Tucson that we told her to buy a couple years ago, or Tucson for people who are idiots. And I'm sure they're going to give her a monster trade-in on Tucson, given that it is a in-demand market segment. It's not beat to hell. Now that she's a big girl and she wants to grow and not grow, she wants to go to Colorado and
she wants to grow.
Yeah, she wants to grow, be 500 pounds, move from being 130 pounds.
I thought she was 70.
Yeah, yeah. But she can't. So they're in Washington State, or she is, and she can't find a Tacoma. Zero.
I thought you said she was getting a CRV.
She wanted a CRV hybrid, and then for some reason she's moved to trucks because she's a truck girl.
Okay.
Now, yeah, okay. But she's looking for a Tacoma, and they're like, oh, there are none.
I bet you could find her a nice HHR if she needs a truck.
Oh, man, that'd be
an SSR. Yeah.
She would look good
out
in Colorado with her SSR. But here was the question. Do you have any educated speculation on the upcoming rear-wheel drive Mazda platform and their inline six? And this is from Michael Glenn.
I don't have any knowledge that is shareable, and most of it is speculation. I'll be honest. The Mazda Toyota factory that is being built is supposedly, and this is straight from Toyota, that joint venture is a SUV. They are making an SUV there. They won't say what, but the development is completely separated. They may be sharing workforce, but they are not going to be sharing a platform. So it's not like a combined, it's combined workforce, but not combined product. So they will have two separate manufacturing, or they might go on the same line. I don't know, but that's as much as I know in terms of the Mazda 6 getting killed off. I think Mazda has some announcements later in the year, and I don't know. One of them is that under embargo? The one that they emailed us about?
I don't actually remember.
One is already known in other markets. The other one, we don't know what it is. It could be an announcement for the Mazda 6, but it's speculation. It is coming. I just don't know when.
So the one thing that people seem to forget as well is Toyota is Mazda's bank as well. Toyota Financial does help provide, from what I understand based on my week there, and this is public knowledge, a lot of Mazda's financing, and Mazda dealers will now have access to Toyota financing moving forward, which is a huge benefit for their customer base. And as many people may or may not know, Toyota is the largest holder of automotive loans here, at least in the United States.
Well, they're one of the biggest banks in the world, and that's because they also give out loans for other companies. So everybody talks about Toyota being an enormous entity in terms of cars, but they also are an enormous entity in terms of loaning out money. And a company like Mazda, which James actually asked a question about this, like, how do these dealerships stay alive right now when he typically had 60 used cars on the lot and they're down to 10? That's one problem, and then the financing is going to become another, because you have this inflated, I'm not going to get into the John business part of this, but you have the inflation, and then you have the inflated prices, which are two separate things. And at what point do banks get spooked and stop loaning out the required money to
People are
loan
going
these
to be
things out?
defaulting on their loans, and you just need to talk to a good financial advisor. It's one of the bigger banks. At the risk of sounding like John business, and they know all these people who are taking out loans on cars they can't afford because for whatever reason they want to buy them, and they're buying at these inflated prices. People are going to start defaulting on car loans.
Well, that's if it comes back down. But yeah, if you're loaning out money on a car that's like $50,000 and it really should be 40, and then somebody's stuck with that high payment, there's no incentive really to pay it back if the market it cools off. So it's kind of a weird position to be in. I don't know how the dealerships do it. Like, to James' point, if you have an inventory of 10 cars, you're cutting headcount. They're laying off people and sending people home. Yep. So you don't have product, people can't have jobs, and then the products that they do have are way overpriced, and then it's a vicious cycle. So in terms of cars, I don't know. I think it's a wait and see game. As soon as production comes back up, people are going to be going nuts.
Yeah.
And that might drive prices down too. So it's
because the market's going to be flooded.
Yeah. You're going to have all these cars coming in. People are going to be clamoring. So hopefully it recovers. My guess is it will.
So I'm going to answer a question that's been asked 9 times by Alberto Candelaro.
Dude, why don't you...
I know, my ability to pronounce names is horrendous. How does a YouTuber with a small channel get press cars to review? Well, Alberto, your best bet in the way Mark did it is make a connection at a press company, at a car company, one of the PR managers, and if you can pitch them on either your value, your production quality, or something, they'll give you a chance. And that's the way you start, is just through that and through referrals through other manufacturers, and building a reputation and a value that you're going to add to these OEMs.
You need an angle.
Yeah.
And right now there's two of them. Either you're a journalist and media, or you're an influencer. And that's kind of how they're dealing with this. When I started, the influencer part was really tiny. Now it's they're bringing influencers on trips. So if you have a huge following on, generationally, I mean, I'm not going to get into what I feel about it, but if you're huge on TikTok and you have a following on TikTok and Instagram, and you can prove you have a lot of followers, regardless if you make content, that could be enough to get you a press car. Counterpoint is, if you're good on YouTube or whatever, you're more the journalist side, that will help you. If you have nothing, then the next suggestion would be you have to join a press guild. That's about it. You need to join a press guild, but you have to have content to show. So that means that's why a lot of these guys get started whoring themselves out at dealerships, getting every dealership to give them a car, whether the content's good or bad. It's building up something. But I'm telling you right now, everybody's doing that because that bar to entry is so low. To churn that out, you have to have a differentiator. And if you're not doing something different, then you're just going to get lost and you're going to be beating your head against the wall.
Yep, that's probably the best summary of that. Last Patreon question, and those on Patreon, I will, like I've been doing so far, I'll answer the questions via text. Takeaways from the Toyota. No, that's not the question I want to ask. Well, here. Takeaways from the Toyota event. Do you know when you're getting a GV70, and do you have any recommendations for Genesis products as a whole?
I'll talk about the Genesis stuff. We will be getting a G70 and a G. We already did a GV70. No, the GV70 is not out. The GV8. We'll get a GV70 and a G70. I know that's on the list. They're just filling the fleets out in the regions. So far, what I've seen is it's just going to be a better previous generation G70 in the interior and exterior. They're going to make some subtle improvements, but overall, it's not going to be that much different of a car because it's on the same platform. They've updated a few things, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the takeaways from the Toyota events, the stuff I can talk about or kind of allude to as the embargoes get lifted. The future's pretty bright for the brand. It is also certain things that we love about the brand, specifically the V8, even though they haven't publicly announced it and it's been brought up a lot. You can probably assume that's going away, and the IS 500 is going to be its swan song.
Yeah, no, that's well known. We talked about it last year when we did our Lexus video that the V8's dead. Now it is dead. It really, I mean, at least the naturally aspirated version. Now, the thing is Toyota Japan and Toyota America don't particularly connect on every single topic.
They do not.
If it's a purely Japanese project, high up in the ranks, America's going to be kind of the last to know about it. So they have patents and stuff, and all this crap's come out for twin turbo V8s. And we've seen things from Japan where they said those V8s are going to be reserved for cars well in excess of $100,000. So my belief is there will be a twin turbo V8 in some high-end product. But everything that Toyota America and Toyota Lexus says in America is that they're going EV. They don't really have that information, or they don't know. They think they're going in a different direction, but I think Japan is going to have some like swan song, like crazy V8 cars.
Also, knowing how Akio runs the company is getting that perspective and talking to people like Ken Gucci. So a project, and this is a question that's been asked like 9 times now in the chat, thoughts on the GR86. We are confirming some stuff with Toyota and Lexus USA logistically, but we're doing a pretty big video on the 86. Obviously, no journalist drove the 86. Or at least was allowed to drive the 86, but we all got to ride shotgun. And I probably did the most laps with Ken Gucci there out of anyone, just because no one wanted to ride with him for some reason. The 86 feels remarkably similar to the prior generation vehicle. If you like the prior car, this one's better. Basically talking to Ken, it's better in every conceivable way. And it's really, really impressive. And hopefully they keep the price to affordability range. And it's proof that Toyota, Lexus, and the story about Akio Toyota is true. He confirmed that Akio basically went to a bunch of engineers a couple months ago and went, "This is horrible, fix it."
But that's the problem. What was horrible about it?
And he didn't say.
Okay. So, I mean, really, it's an evolution of the last car. More power, more torque, better power band. What was the other? I don't know how much stuff we can actually talk about. I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Yeah, the embargo is kind of like a murky thing, so I don't want to bring up too much, but at least that is a publicly recognized story.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that is so interesting about the company is Akio Toyota, because of the new driving philosophy associated with Lexus, supposedly signs off on every car dynamically, at least the cars he cares about, which at this point, which is, I mean, it is really, really impressive.
Well, at least the GR cars, because GR is
his.
Yeah, he started that, so I can understand why he would want his hand.
Yeah, you're not having like Mary Barra drift around in a C8. That's not something you're getting, but you are getting that with Lexus, which is amazing. Toyota. So let's get into some of the paid questions, so we don't miss all of these, and I apologize. Let me pull up. Or do you want to answer some of these questions? All right, Paul. for $5. Thank you so much, Paul, for the donation. What are your predictions on what trucks and cars from the 90s will be collectible classics 30 years from now?
Trucks and cars from the 90s? I think we already know a lot of those, right?
S2000, NSX, a lot of the Japanese, like low volume.
RX-8.
RX-7. Some of the German cars that aren't too disposable or tech-based, like the 996s have just skyrocketed in price.
What about the bummers?
E36s are going up. E46s are crazy. E39 M5s are insane. I don't really see that for the Mercedes products. I just think cars that were automatic as well will not appreciate at the same rate as manuals because the automatic gearbox, even in an enthusiast car, dates it so heavily.
Yeah, I think, like I started to say this before, if you get anything that's naturally aspirated and a manual transmission, I mean, that's you're already set up. If you get something clean, and it may not have a value now, but if you get something clean that's not totally beat up, those are the ones to target. In terms of trucks, I don't really know. I mean, you're talking about like Cyclones and stuff like that, and SRT10. I mean, that's just like a lot of these things.
Really clean Tacomas, like Todd has.
Yeah.
Like some of the Toyota trucks, like clean Tundras, and obviously the stupid things like SRT10s and all that other nonsense.
Todd messaged like the group about some Japanese cars that are
Land Cruisers.
Well, he sent film props, which you can't really see here, but he wanted me to get in the Uzi from Casino from the scene for that for $400. But yeah, there's a website called Japanese Classics LLC, and they sell all the imports. And websites like that are really a good way to kind of see what's going up in price and what you could buy as a collectible. There's a lot of cool stuff out there, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think also the market's so crazy right now. I was talking to someone on Instagram who's like sort of a journalist. I think her channel's now called Torque. It changed.
What was it before? Hot dogs?
Yeah, hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
No, but she was being like, can you imagine waking up and telling yourself that you just bought a 996 convertible, used, like non-turbo, nothing, for $50,000? Yeah, and that's just the proof. The prices right now make no sense, but I'm sure cars like that, because it was manual, blah, 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 are going up crazy in value. Hopefully that answers your question, Paul.
Here's one I back on the Patreon said, what's your opinion on BMW's bet on the new comic-style front grille? This is a huge uproar amongst existing and potential owners. Why do they insist on using the new grills? You're John BMW.
Not that John BMW.
Dude, you're probably got 3 on order, just the grills.
Yeah, I just ordered front ends of M3s and regular 4 Series. So from my understanding, a lot of that was done for the Chinese market, genuinely. It was a request that they had. The big grille look is something that a lot of people seem to like. And it also, they're overcompensating for the fact that people used to think they were boring. So now I got to look like I've got money. So money equals big grille. We joke about this all the time. Manufacturers should have the narcissist package, which just shows your net worth in the back window.
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't see it aging well.
I think, though, I don't really care so much about the grill because those trends kind of evolve over time and they get normalized, and you're just like, everybody starts doing the same thing and you're like, oh, okay, now that's normal for that time period or that 5-year window. To me, what's more disgusting is that M4. I hate the way the car looks. I don't even care about the grill. It's like proportionately, it's like a Mustang mixed with like
it looks wrong.
A Tiburon. Like, I don't know. I see so many cars in it, and it's just, I don't know. It's just not that attractive of a car to me. But then again, I don't look at it as seriously as like a BMW enthusiast because to me they're all like.
I think I've started also to move away from liking BMWs more and more because, as you said, they're getting more and more soulless, and I am starting to agree with that. Though I will say this: we are getting a new M3. And M4. Viewers giving us his M3 manual, and we're getting an M4 competition from the press fleet, which is automatic. It'll be interesting. It still makes me excited that they still make a rear drive, manual sports car that revs and isn't going to like a 4-cylinder like Mercedes, or has stripped away any of its dual personality sportiness like an S4 or RS5.
Well, these manufacturers have it good now because instead of everybody complaining about their cars, now we're at a place where we're like, well, we better not complain about it because there's nothing left. Yep. And, so like everybody's now making excuses for that fact. Well, at least they're making something. It's like the lowest common denominator like thing. And that's just the way it is. I think what's the car that we just did? Oh, we're doing the TLX Type S.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the argument in this car is, there's nothing wrong with it. Everything that's wrong with it is just because of the era that it's made in. They have
It doesn't rev.
It has a box that it's trapped in because of what they have to do to make a car today. And those requirements to make that car successful today, including all the regulation stuff, is what makes that TLX an issue, not the car. And that's, to me, the biggest disappointment of doing this.
But there are certain brands that still, and here's my problem with the car, and in retrospect, we're actually just about to film the shop segment on the TLX Type S. We're going to do that tonight after this. One of my issues with that car is, you are an old school Honda guy, and the people who are going to be buying it are people like you, right? Old school Honda guys. And what is the thing that people love about Hondas? It's their engines. And you could take that 3-liter, again, so if people who don't know, the TLX Type S motor only revs at 6,200 RPM. You could put that in an Audi, you could put that in a BMW, an Infiniti, not a Lexus because they don't make anything modern, but you know what I mean, you could put it in another car and it would feel at home in that car. It doesn't feel like a Honda engine. And yes, it is turbocharged, but other turbocharged powertrains wind out. They still have something, like the B58, which is a generic-ass engine from BMW, revs to 7,000 RPM. And if you drive a modern Porsche engine, the 3-liter is incredible, even with turbos.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Honda and Acura are big on doing their own stuff. And we always say this, some of the things that they do are to their own detriment. Yeah. I respect the fact that they want to try to do this on their own, and they have their own path, and I think that's what's unique about these cars is it's very uniquely Acura and Honda. And that's why I like it, and there's so much that you connect with.
It's not that it's a bad car either.
No,
it's a very good car.
I'm just saying that it does feel like a Honda and Acura, but the engine and transmission are no longer what made them great and memorable like what you're saying. It's now become kind of a victim of where we're at in terms of development and everything else.
What's impressive about the car is the dynamics. It is one of the most impressive sports sedans, not track sports sedans you can buy from a handling perspective. Right, it's amazing,
and that's something we'll talk about in the video. Like when I do the final thoughts for it, one of the big things is the TL Type S or the old Honda and Acura products. They were very memorable in their time periods because they were special. They had a unique thing. That didn't mean they were the best, and that's something we talk about Lexus and Toyota too. They were very unique, but they didn't have the specs. They didn't have the numbers game. They didn't have the alt-right performance. They didn't have some of the crazy engineering. This new TLX Type S has more of that than it used to, and it's way better than their old cars.
It looks good.
And it looks good. It's just not what they used to make, and I don't know that people that are huge enthusiasts of these cars are going to be able to accept that and move on to this next phase. I'm struggling with it because of what I grew up with. I'm struggling with this changeover that we're going through, and a lot of it is not for the better in terms of fun factor. And I don't know, that everybody's going to have to suffer through this.
I think it's going to be interesting to me to watch real Honda people. Again, like I said in the TLX video, I grew up with Acuras for a little while. My dad had like 3 Legends. He had a first-gen NSX, and he had the very first model year TL Type S when it was first offered here in the U.S. So I grew up with these things, and what I remember about those cars is objectively they were dynamically worse than the Germans, but had a very special motor, despite not being an M car or whatever.
Right.
And now it's the exact opposite. Dynamically, it's really, really impressive. You're right. You could do things in the TLX Type S you couldn't do in a 3 Series.
Yeah,
not an M3, but like a regular.
Like a lot of cars. I mean, you really could, but you're losing that's what I'm saying in the video. You're losing something with losing the engine, and that goes back to that EV question. Is how do you make these cars feel special when you have basically electric motors, electronic control, torque? It's not even torque vectoring. It's electronic control of where that motor puts down power, and all these cars are going to start to run together. When you don't have like a sound signature, you don't have vibration, you don't have. All you're doing is like, do I add more power and torque, or do we take it away, and how do we electronically control it? And this last generation of these internal combustion engines is very much in that same boat. You have all the complications of ICE, but then you have all electronic controls of it. So it's like it's lost a huge part. Anyway.
All right, so we'll get back. Do you have another question you want to answer on the Patreon? All right, so I'll pull up this next
pull
one.
up the next one.
This is from Taylor Robertson. And Taylor, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Supporting you guys as always. Missed your live streams. I've settled on getting a Veloster N, getting one in 2 weeks. Any ideas on track deficiencies? Do I need a catch can or big brake kit? Will be dailied and tracked.
What pile was this?
A Veloster
Oh
N.
yeah, that's what I thought. No, just
I know.
do a catch can if you're gonna drive it a lot and you're gonna track it. That's just direct injection. It's for your own benefit, and then just drain the thing every month or every oil change. Usually you'll know. Just check it more frequently. Drain the can. If there's nothing in there and you just did a track date, well, you know you don't have to check it. That's cheap insurance. The Veloster N has almost no serious cooling issues. It doesn't have a lot of issues to begin with.
You might need, depending on how hard you are, you're probably going to need real pads.
Yes.
You're probably going to need real tires.
And real brake fluid. Like the typical stuff that you're gonna do on this car. Tires, brake fluid, and then plan for pads as you get better at driving it. And then you're gonna want to, I'm telling you right now, I don't know what, I think it's 530 that's in that car.
You're going to want to use a high-end oil.
You're
like
gonna-
a red line.
You're gonna
AMS.
a group 5 oil. It doesn't matter which one you use, a group 5 synthetic, and you're gonna want to probably go up a weight if you're in a hot climate and you're tracking a lot. So if it's, I don't think it's 020.
I don't remember.
But if it's 020, you'd want to go up to a minimum of like 530. If it runs a 530 by default, you could probably go to a 1030 because it raises the upper end temperature on the track before it thins out. So like even though the lower number, like this is something I don't even know why I'm saying this. If you run a 530 and you run a 1030, even though that 30 is the same, the oil will thin out on the 530 at a higher temperature than the oil will thin out on a 1030. And that's because there's a trade-off in that base for cold weather that affects the high-end temperatures, and that's something that people don't get. So if you're tracking it, you're in the heat, just go up, get rid of that winter number, bump that up so you have a higher temperature at the top. And then protect yourself in the summer, and if you're in a cold climate, then move it back to like a 520 or a 530 in the winter. That's all,
yeah,
sorry.
and congratulations on your purchase.
Have
I'm gonna
fun with it.
The Veloster N was a huge
It's
car to drive. That was a lot of fun. Patar998 for $5. Hey y'all, this is a question for you, Mark. It involves LC500.
oh god.
I'm looking into buying an LC500 used, maybe an 18 or 19. Any options? Or do I need to be any options I need to be looking for in one?
So it depends on what you're gonna do. The straight answer is stay away from the 18s. That's why they're so cheap. There's nothing particularly wrong with them other than the suspension was messed up on them. I said it in the video. It rode like shit, and I've had people contact me on the side. I've had a lot of people contact me on the side about this car. I told them look. They're like, how much of a deal is it, the 18 to the 19, the suspension change? I'm like, go in it. If you can go side by side, that's when you'll appreciate it. So I had one guy's like, dude, I couldn't believe how much of a difference it was in damping, like softness and compliance between the 18 and 19. The 18 felt like it was concrete. The 19 is smoothed out. So if you can find a 19 or a 20, that's great. The 21s are way more expensive, and it's even softer. But the only options are the Performance Pack, which they just changed the dynamic handling package. They rebranded it for 21. But the Performance Pack on the 19s and 20s gives you rear wheel steering, and then it gives you the carbon roof and a Torsen standard. And
The Performance Pack is a huge difference.
if you're getting a coupe, obviously you're getting a coupe at 19 and 20. It makes a huge difference at making the car feel smaller than it is, which means when you turn the wheel, because it's got VGRS too, so you turn past a certain point and the ratio changes, it feels quicker. That combined with the rear wheel steering, it shrinks the car in about half. And it just makes it way more nimble to drive. If you're not beating the shit out of it like me, like I don't ever drive that car normal, you can get away with not getting that because you're going to save a lot of money and it's harder to find a Performance Pack. If all you're doing is going straight, you want to listen to the engine and cruise down the road and, just flog it, you don't need the Performance Pack. So that's that.
But if you're already spending the money, I feel like just get the Performance
Yeah,
Pack.
if you can find it, just spend the extra $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever the premium is now to get a used one. It'll have a better resale value too, I think, if you go to flip it because they were more rare.
So the next question, and again, thank you for asking that, and thanks for the donation. Bryant Monroe for $5, thank you for the donation. Paul 2K, hey guys, met you at Autobahn a few weeks ago on track. Would you rather have a modified S2000 or a stock GT350? Driving the S is worsening my back, but I'm worried I will regret selling it. So you're an S2000 owner, and I adore the 350. The S2000s now are worth an unbelievable amount of money.
Yeah. This is the problem that I had because I just tracked the S2000 like what a month
It's probably
ago.
at this track day.
Track day. Yeah, and I drove it and I instantly felt bad. I felt bad because I know it's harder to get these cars now. I never thought like this. The car's in such good shape. It's like everything is finally set up on it. It feels good. It's such an enjoyable car to drive. And then I'm sitting there like we did a 30-minute session, and the clutch failed at the end of it because it's so old.
But it was also, it was done
so
anyway.
old.
Yeah.
It's not even, the car's not even modified. The clutch is just tired. And I'm sitting here thinking, I just drove this thing for 30 minutes, beat the shit out of it. I'm like, for what? I mean, it's fun to drive, but it's not like I'm racing or anything. And it's just like, that to me now, that car has become a collectible to me. And yes, I enjoy driving. It's one of the best driving cars on the track. Modified, it's even better. But there's this progression. To get that car to be fast, you have to go through the suspension, the tires, and then once you get to that place where you have all that set up, then you're doing bushings, alignment stuff, ball joints, you're doing reinforcements, and then the biggest problem is aero. You'll hit a wall, and that's where my car is at. You get in higher speed sweepers, and no matter how much grip you have, that car is lifting, and that back end is kind of always moving around, and it's slowing you down, and you're like, now I gotta do a splitter. Now I gotta do these big ass wings. I gotta do a hard top, all this shit, and really at the end of the day, it's not making it that much difference unless you're really going out there to compete in some type of time trial shit, and it just, to me, it's not worth it. If you're gonna go out there and you're gonna wanna go fast, just get a GT350. If you wanna keep the S2000, keep it. Don't really ruin it with stuff because it doesn't make it all that much better, and the value of it's gonna be much higher.
So he currently has
An S2000.
and I would keep it, dude. If your S2000 isn't totally just annihilated or ruined,
Yeah, if you already have it screwed up and it's got like 150,000 miles on it, just go for it. Yeah. Just modify the hell out of it. But I mean, if it's a really good example and hasn't been a
just
ton
keep it and hold on to it. It's gonna be worth a lot of money one day.
Yeah, just stuff it. Make the peace with the fact that it's gonna sit and you're gonna keep it as an investment, and then go and spend the money on a GT350.
And drive that, because that car has a lot of the specialness of the S2000, specifically great engine, good gearbox.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Long block for $10. Hey guys, just letting you know I bought an NC Miata because of your documentary. I want to autocross. Any suggestions to get into it? Love your work. Don't overwork yourselves and stay safe. Well, thanks, Long Block.
Thank you.
I guess, do you want to start off with
Just tires and alignment.
and listen to people?
Listen to people. Go out there to a Miata club and you're gonna get an earful. And you're probably going to be like, why did I do this? But they will tell you exactly what works and doesn't work. And the thing is with the Miata is everything that could possibly be done has already been done to that car. So don't reinvent the wheel. You can go out to autocross and find national drivers that can get a lot out of nothing.
Yep.
And it's a different mindset. So if you're expecting, this is something we've experienced, when you have some hardcore Miata set up for autocross, it makes a really shitty street car or track car because all it does is wants to loop itself. To be fast in an autocross, the car's got to rotate, unnaturally rotate, and you've got to figure out how to get that through these tight corners. So by making it a great autocross car often makes it really shitty and unstable or ride bad on the street and makes it like sometimes outright dangerous on the track. So find a balance and find out what you're happy with driving it. But really, tires and an alignment are just, that's so simple and you can get a lot out of that.
And your best investment is actually also in yourself. So yeah, you need real tires autocross to have any kind of fun.
Yeah.
But once you start modifying the suspension and everything, I almost feel like now, having done that to two of my cars in the past, my BRZ was modified, and so was my Mustang. In retrospect, at that age, I'd rather have spent the money going to a driving school or X, Y, and Z, because I learned way more at a driving school than I learned after a certain point just autocrossing, right?
Yeah.
You need that professional help from someone who isn't just some guy who's good at autocrossing to get you to the next level, understanding car control and all that other fun stuff. So
yeah, and this gets preachy, and it just depends on who you are and where you're at in your life. And some people really like to tinker. They just want to mess with stuff just to mess with stuff. And I think for me, I went through that part, and I know exactly what I can tolerate in terms of suspension setup on my cars. I know what will make a difference and make a noticeable difference without that diminishing returns. So if you take an older car and it's 20 years old, and you have 20-year-old dampers on it, let's be honest, those dampers are old technology. In terms of oil, it might have leaks. The seal stiction might be bad in it. Getting a new set of dampers is going to help that car a lot. So there's ways to modify by being smart, and I think a lot of people go to this extreme and get caught up in like Matt from Obsessed Garage. He's like, oh, dude, I gotta just buy this shit, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? He's just buying it for the parts, and that's fine if you know what you're doing with that. But if you're buying parts hoping that it's gonna make some huge change in your life, it's not.
No.
And it's just, you're going to go out there and some guy with a stock car that's rolling all over the place is going to be faster than you. Work on the basics first and work from there.
Next question from Kevin C. And this is actually, I like this question a lot. Thanks, Kevin, for the $5. Do you have a top 3 favorite funny comments from YouTube or Instagram saved in the archive? If not, all good.
I don't, and this is a video that I wanted to make just as a stupid one, maybe a Wednesday video, because our viewers, or obviously you guys and girls and in between, are really
amazing,
intelligent in a lot of ways. If it's like anything, like social media, there's going to be like garbage can stuff, but there's a high level of perception of reality, self-awareness, sarcasm, and some of these comments are like
hilarious.
You should be paid for some of these comments, and I really appreciate them, even if they're like horrifically offensive to me or like degrading.
They make you guys tear us new assholes all the time.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. It is so funny. You and I will send us stuff. Send each other stuff, and we always laugh about it. We're so lucky.
Yeah, no, I love a great dig that is well thought out. Like if you can really think out a way to make, well, not just to make fun of somebody, but to make craftily dig at something that's wrong or like a problem, that shows great initiative.
Actually that came up while I was at this Toyota HQ event. So last week I went to Plano, Texas. Mark had to play, had dad duty, family responsibilities, and we couldn't do back-to-back trips. So I went and I talked to some of the other members of the press, and even from some of the other outlets, and shout out to Matt Moran Motoring. Even he brought up, like, man, you guys, you have an amazing viewing audience because you guys are funny, genuinely. You have a better sense of humor than we do, Mark.
I would say that's probably the case. I think some of it is doing this. When I started doing this, I wanted a channel or videos that in my sensibilities. So part of making these videos was
I subbed to Savage Geese and my IQ went up to 70. Nice room temperature IQ.
Yeah, your credit score went up to 340. I wanted something that was like funny and relatable and grounded in reality. So I wanted to do that when I started this. But of course, when you start trying to do something for real or a business, you have to kind of like scale it back because, like you couldn't get away with this shit in a real job. I couldn't just be like, oh, fuck you, Larry. Go to your boss, slap him on the ass. You have to be smart about how you make the content. And I like the fact that a lot of the viewers can come in the comments and say stuff that I can no longer say tactfully. So it's fun.
Next question from Low Strike for $5. How are inventories at dealers out by you? My local Chevy had 0 new cars on their lot. Toyota had 10 Camrys and a couple RAVs. Thoughts?
Well, we started talking about this, James, who works at the Mazda dealership by us, and he brought this up. He's like, how the hell are we going to survive? That wasn't really his comment, but like, what are dealerships going to do if they don't have cars to sell? And I mean, it's the same problem that a lot of markets are having right now with supply and supply chain issues. And the straight answer is like our inventory is really low. It's low everywhere. Ours is low. I think our lots, like certain dealerships, like the ones in the smaller areas, like McHenry, dude, like you went by, I think it was Sunnyside or Sunshine Dodge, where I was like where I bought one of my first cars.
Yeah.
They had nothing, decimated. So if you're a big dealer, you're going to survive because you're going to get allocated more.
And little dealers might die.
Yep, exactly.
This is from Exhaust Sports Auto, so you know it's going to be a good question.
Yo, bro.
Should I sell my yacht for a V12 Ferrari in this market? Well, we have a lot of business contacts. You owe us favors. Like we just shot the TLX video on a helicopter.
Yeah, so I have a buddy who flies helicopters, and I pulled him out of some deep debt like 25 years ago. So I basically subsidized his family. You know, I helped his wife have a kid. So he owes me a lot of money. So we filmed out of his helicopter with my iPhone, and we got some great shots.
That was
with
just
it.
incredible.
And he couldn't say anything. You know, I ran him out of fuel a couple of times because I wanted him to fly me over some of the local lakes. There was a beach that was near there, and there was a lot of people on the beach. And I'm like, I was with my binoculars. I'm just hover over here. I want to have a look at the sand. And he's like, dude, we got to refill again. It cost him like $6,000. I'm like, you know, there's a lot of other things I've done for you, buddy. So
Yeah, this guy's only about 3 things: helicopters, beers, boats, and babes.
That's 4 things.
Oh, sorry, 4 things.
boats and babes and beaches. There's a place by us, and I told Jack about this the other day, and it's like
So let's preface this. You and I have come from a much different background, and you're trying to culture me. We went to a place called Wonder Lake recently. Not that recently, a couple months ago. It's like, Jack, I got to take you to this place. Of course, this asshole, per usual, whenever we go to a place that is interesting, we always go in a hyper expensive car.
That's not why I wanted to go there. But it just happened to be like, hey, we were driving around filming in that area. I'm like, dude, we're right here. You've never been here before. I want to show you like what real people like how this area is out here.
So picture like Flint, Michigan, from like Mike, whatever that documentary.
Mike and Me? No,
Like decimated little town.
no, it's not that bad, dude. It's just a rural town.
It's not RoboCop's Detroit,
No,
but it wasn't great.
It's not like an industrial. It's just a small like rural town.
In the town where they would call me the Oriental, like
Yes,
that kind of town.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
You
just,
drive in and there was an outdoor wrestling match, and of course, this guy and I are in this LC convertible, looking like 2 douchebags.
Yeah, do you have that picture?
Let me find it.
Yeah, so like I'm like, Jack, you just have to see this to understand the area that we live in. And it's not a negative thing. It's just the reality that, you know, we get in this zone of the things that we do, and you lose connection with the people around you a lot of times. And like I know people that have lived there, and it's one of those, you live in this town and you don't get out, and the people are like, Jesus, I'm never gonna get out of this town. I went to school with them, and I'm like, dude, they taught me early on in my teenage years. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this, dude. I'm like, I'm not gonna be that. I'm not gonna do that. And it's so crazy to me that people like this stuff is like going on still, and that's the main.
And this answers our question about why he should sell his yacht
Why?
for a V12 Ferrari, right? Like getting this back to Exhaust Sports Auto's question.
Sorry, yeah.
All right, we'll go to the next question.
Just sell your yacht.
Buy a couple Ferraris.
Yeah.
Dominic Mitri, thank you for the $5. E-Corp for $10. What are your thoughts on the CTS CT5V Blackwing, refined Hellcat, Fun M5, or something else? Also, why can the Cadillac have a manual but not the Corvette? All right, Mark, tell me. You're a caddy man.
It's a good question.
I know you've given like 0% thought, right? When that thing was being released, I messaged you.
The Cadillac's not mid-engine.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, the first part of it, what do you think about the car? Is it exciting that GM made a manual V8?
Every time Cadillac makes a V8 rear-wheel drive car, everybody's excited for 5 minutes.
And no one buys it.
Yeah. And then we have it on the channel like 5 years later when the car's like $25,000. And you're like, wow, that's a pretty good deal. I mean, they could have. The thing is, the reason why they couldn't fit a manual trans in the Vet is just
Packaging.
they didn't want to spend the money to package it. There's no return for them to do it. With the Cadillac, it's
the only thing that's going to get it to sell.
yeah, a differentiator.
I had this conversation with you about Supra and a couple other cars, and I got in a disagreement with a journalist. So sports cars exist for brands, particularly brands that bread and butter isn't sports cars, like Toyota, to get people excited and go to their dealership. That's just a marketing tool. So for cars like that, the Corvette, they sell so many of them. They're going to sell them with an automatic or without one. So it doesn't really matter. But smaller boutique cars, I think it makes sense to have a manual option because this is a PR win. You can advertise it. So I'm sure that's what Cadillac is doing. It's like, look, not only did we build a super sedan, we built one with a manual, and then no one's going to buy it with a manual, but I think that's why they did that.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of it's probably a test, to see what the market is. Since there's not a lot of manuals left, maybe the take rate will be higher. I don't know. I mean, personally, I need to drive it. Like I don't get excited for cars until I drive them. So.
And the take rate, to his point for the Corvette was abysmal. I had to fly. We live in the Midwest, and when I bought my Corvette new, I had to fly all the way to New Jersey to find one with a manual in 19.
But you didn't want just a regular poor man C8 or C7. You
Yeah, I
had
wanted
to
the
have
Grand
the
Sport.
the Grandy Sport.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the take rate was so low.
Yeah.
And
now people would kill for that car.
yeah, those cars have gone up in value like crazy for no real reason. Will Matt for $5. Thank you, Will. What's the best high performance SUV with the Germans and without the Germans?
Huh?
So
When you
what's
said
the,
SUV, my brain just went blank.
so what's the best high performance SUV?
Probably a Porsche.
No, thanks for stroking. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, what else? What you got to go to like the thing is all the best performing SUVs are on the same
platform,
architecture,
yeah.
so it's the same car. Really.
MLB Evo.
Yeah, so it's like the Urus, the Cayenne,
SQ7,
and
SQ8.
Well, the SQ7 is different because that's a 3-row. Personally, if it was me, I would have an SQ7, 500 horsepower, ton of space,
Great V8.
great V8, great transmission. It just doesn't look all that great. So that's your best usable one. And then you get into like the Dodge piles, like the Durango and the Hellcat. That would be amazing.
I will
Honestly.
say the Durango Hellcat, if you drove it like you were going to go to jail, like literally doing 100 miles an hour in a 55 zone, driving like an asshole everywhere, like you have no penis, just totally antisocial.
trying to grow a penis back.
Then it's incredible. You can drive that thing like a baboon, and it's so satisfying.
It's the most fun.
But it's also a total piece of shit.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a piece of shit, but I mean, it's like, it's in a different class of vehicle.
Karen, my girlfriend, got into this thing, and we were in your driveway. We were talking about. She's like, "Why the hell would you buy this thing?" And you and I are like giggling like idiots.
Well, I don't know. It's definitely testosterone infused, and that's what makes it fun and different. I mean, every other, like we talked about, if you want a performance SUV, you're trapped in that German web of
something
they're
from
all
VW
the same
Group, yeah.
shit, right?
Because the X3M isn't good.
That's too stiff.
The Stelvio is interesting, but it's never going to work.
Yeah, right. You're going to be getting that thing fixed a lot. The Quadrifoglio.
Yeah.
The X5M, that's probably pushing one of the better ones, too.
But it doesn't have the personality, I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, I can't believe we're talking about this, dude.
Performance SUVs, apex.
I mean, but there's so many now. Like,
We talked about the RDX for a SUV that's sporty, under $50,000 is the best driving.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like, you think about these cars, and I had this problem with the TLX when we drove it, the Type S. I'm like, back seats are small. Not that I put anybody
What are you,
in the
like
back
75 years
No,
old
like
now?
the back seats are too small.
The
trunk
acoustics of you're like my dad. The acoustics of this cabin. I can't
just-
listen to my master
are
recording.
subpar. The reflections off the hard plastic in the upper dash is beneath me. No, I'm just sitting there driving this thing. I'm like, this could use a lot more space. And I'm like, why? I don't put anything here. And that's what's happening. That's the reality.
Well, this guy gets hot and bothered when he sees minivans. The Pacifica S.
I've cooled off to that recently.
You had the biggest boner over those things. When we went to the Gladiator launch, I'm like, oh man.
Oh God, I mean, let's be real. Would you get more excited about a Pacifica S or a Gladiator? And for me, it's like, I'd rather be in the minivan 9 out of 10 times.
All right. Sentience PSN, thank you very much for the $5. Master, what the hell's that? Miter for $5. Thank you very much. Used trucks, what's going on crazier than insane used cars prices? I will have to expect to pay $28,000 or more for a used Tacoma with 90,000 miles.
Yeah, it's sad. Greg just in the chat, he posted his offer on his 4Runner, and it was like crazy. Like his offer for it was like really high, and the thing's like 5 years old. I mean, this is what's happening. So if you have to get a car, well,
You're basically stuck buying one.
You're gonna eat shit right now. I mean, if you can wait, if you have something you want to sell it, and then stuff the money for when prices come back down to earth, that's what I would do. But I wouldn't be actively trying to buy something.
Yeah, that's what I told her sister. It's like, don't buy right now. Just hold on to the Tucson.
Yeah.
So, next question for United Newbies. What's the most reliable, fun luxury sports car under $30,000 to $70,000? That's a huge range. What do you mean by MSRP is too high?
Oh man, dude, that's
30 to 70 is a big price
yeah.
range.
You're looking at like the I think you're looking at the Quadrifoglio. You're looking at
But he
like,
said reliable.
oh
Reliable and fun. You can
That's-
count Alfa Romeo out immediately.
yeah, well yeah. I mean, fun probably G70, G80 is not all that great.
F80 M3 with a warranty, final years. That car is great.
There's my choice, and I'm not a BMW person, but that's it. Let's just leave it at that. F80 M3 manual transmission.
Just get the crank hub issue fixed, and it's pretty bomb-proof.
And then just put 7,000 pounds lowering springs on that drop you about
And make
5
sure it's
inches.
white.
Yeah, make sure it's white. Yep, with some type of like matte wrapped panels or something. Carbon fiber splitter.
Just go full Slav mode.
Yeah, yeah.
Only play Eurobeat.
Yeah, subwoofer mounted on the exterior of the car.
Hopefully that answers your question. Honestly, the new the F80 generation BMWs are pretty reliable, and they're way more fun than like a GSF. You agree?
Oh yeah, I mean the GSF is like you're gonna pay up the ass for a GSF. We were talking about that the other day. I'm like, that's like a $60,000-$70,000 car. I'm sorry, like I was in the market for one. I'm like, nah, not paying that kind of money for it. I mean, it's a great car. It's gonna last forever.
Yeah, that
It's
car
just-
was $40,000. So I'm telling you about ISF prices. They are insane right now
Yeah.
for no reason.
Right. But that's every car.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the thing is everything's inflated. So it's like, yeah, not happening.
Yeah, one of our viewers said GSF over F80. I'm like, I agree with you. The motor sounds way better in the GSF, but objectively, if you strip away the engine,
Can't you get an F80 for cheaper than a GSF right
yeah,
now?
you can.
So that's the thing. If you're looking for the here and now, not to keep, you have it for 3 years with a warranty, you're gonna have a lot more fun with the F80. But if you can get a GSF, which you're not gonna find one for like a reasonable price, I mean, unless all you're doing is cruising and you want that V8 and you want the Toyota Lexus reliability, but if you want to go out and have fun, you're gonna have way more fun.
Yeah, you're not going to take a GSF to a track day.
No, you're not. You're definitely not.
And someone mentioned 2016 is no different than the 2020. Yes and no. They did do running reliability changes to the GSF. You said what year did they have diff problems?
No, that was the RCF.
Oh, that's the RCF.
The original Torsons and the RCFs had problems, and then they fixed it later. The GSFs really didn't have that much changes other than the suspension. I think I did a video on the 2019. The only GSF video I have, I talk about the running changes that they made, and I think it was like suspension tuning because that's what they mostly evolve.
Larry Lampshade for $5. What are your thoughts on the Haldex all-wheel drive systems? Golf R seems to check a lot of boxes for me, but I'm concerned about it being so front-wheel drive centric.
I am not a VW person at all. I'm not a Golf person, but I appreciate the Golf R. It is way better than the GTI because it gives you that ability to just stop terminally understeering when you're driving it like a dick. It doesn't completely remove it, but it makes it at least 50 to 75% better. So if you want better dynamics, you get the Golf R and you'll be happy you did it. And I drove the shit out of both those cars. You can't get rid of the understeer stuff with the Golf R, but the only time you're going to notice it is like in an autocross.
Does it feel super front-wheel drivey?
In autocross when you're in a tight stuff, but when you're on a real road, back roads, or like you're not going to take it to a track, but anything that's not like, oh, I'm turning over the wheel.
Yeah.
If you're just making subtle turns, sweepers, like regular road stuff, it's amazing to drive. You feel like you're God in it.
It is a very competent system.
It is, and the extra horsepower helps. It's a great car all the way around. It just, obviously to me, that's not my style of car. It's too plain vanilla for me.
Is it better or worse than the system that's in the SH all-wheel drive? Because that's another front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system that's similar.
The SH is better because you have a torque vectoring differential, so you can send power to the left or the right, where the Haldex can't. It can't do that to that level. You're dealing with wet clutches instead of having a clutch and be able to send power to each wheel like in the SH. So the SH can feel way more rear wheel drive in some cases than the Haldex can. But again, it depends on how you drive. If you're not a monkey, you might never notice it.
Yeah, if you're not genuinely going flat out. RJ Cam for $5. Mark, what model number of your Ray-Bans? What's the model number of your Ray-Ban frames?
I have no idea. I'll look and tell you right now if there's even anything on here. Well, I honestly, I don't know, but they're carbon, one of the carbon frames. So there's probably only like a handful of them. Just take a picture and take it in your eyeglassware. And what I told you, I'll tell you another story about Gregert. This is classic, and I'm sorry, nobody knows who he is, but
Guy's amazing.
he needed glasses. So he went into, I think, a Lens Crafters. It doesn't matter.
Oh, is this the story that I'm thinking it
Yeah,
is?
so he's like getting fitted for his like getting fitted, and she's like, "Oh, have you thought about frames? Do you have any designers you'd like?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to try the Jeffrey Dahmers." She's like, "Oh, I don't think we have those." And so she goes and asks her manager, and then she didn't come back. And then the manager, the dude, came over and helped him because he thought he was a total serial killer. Obviously, he wasn't serious. He was just being sarcastic, but it didn't go over well on like some 19-year-old girl. Yeah. So,
All right, next question. Mopar 92 for $20. Since Stellantis has given all the former FCA brand 10 years to figure themselves out, do you think the next pile from Dodge will be a performance SUV, or can we finally see the next generation of Charger and Challengers?
I don't know.
Honestly, I don't know either.
I don't know. That's a tough one for me, dude. I think they were originally going to do it on the Alpha platform, and now you thought that they were going to scrap it.
I had heard rumors from Stellantis internally, and I can't verify this, but something about the Giulia platform not being able to be fully EV-ified or is hurting the chances of them moving the Charger Challenger to that architecture. So I don't actually know. Also, if you think about it from the viewer's perspective and just internally, we know how corporate cultures work. Now you're adding the French, Italians, and Americans all work together on a global platform. I have no idea what they're going to offer, but you know that project's going to be a nightmare.
I don't know what they're going to do. And frankly, I stopped caring. I mean,
Yeah, a little bit of my own
I
too.
feel like they've delayed the inevitable for so long. When they talked about the Challenger and Charger getting updated, they like, we're not going to do it because we're not ready to do it. We can't do it. Like, they've had a long time to evolve their stuff, and they've chosen to stick with what works. And even when we talk to the engineers, they're like, well, we're different, and we're going to stick with what we're good at.
But now the Hellcat motor is no longer emissions compliant. And you and I both love Hellcat-powered Stellantis vehicles.
No,
They're incredible.
They're right. They're able to do certain things amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
But once you strip that away,
But from a business perspective, when you don't evolve your products outside of that box, or either, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's money, it's management, it's corporate culture that's blocking it. But they should have evolved into a different framework by now, and we haven't seen it. So I don't know what they're going to do. I'm sure they're going to, like they said, they're going to EV everything. How they do that, good luck. You know what I mean?
yeah, and
Their
then
whole brand image is,
horsepower, loud, V8,
yeah.
Why people love their cars. I think they're going to have a soul-searching identity crisis here really shortly. Mm-hmm. And it's not for the lack of trying. The new Durango interior is great. Oh, it's not great.
They're
It's
finally got
good.
their interiors updated. I mean, I will give them that. It's just in terms of the costly stuff, they were going to move the Chargers and Challengers to that Alpha platform. That was the plan, and they put it off. They had that opportunity like 5 or 6 years ago. So I don't know. I don't know what their long-term game is. And again,
I think it's SUVs, like every brand.
Oh yeah. I mean, if they can EV a Ram or EV some of their SUVs, I don't think that's a problem. But are they going to be able to do that? Do they have the resources to do that? Most of the other brands are already tied up with an exclusivity contracts on battery packs, all that other stuff, and I haven't heard anything about them doing that.
Yeah, I haven't either. That's not ideal for them. But, oh well. Moving on, sadly. 5 windows for $11.54. Thank you, 5 windows.
Thank you, 5 windows.
Overall, do you find mid-engine performance car suspension more refined than front-engine equivalents? I've heard this due to the fact that there's more space for better suspension components around the wheels. True or not?
Well, there's one that comes to mind that didn't. And that was the Force C. They ran out of room in the... I can't remember if it was the front. They ran out of room in the front suspension to do the geometry the way that they wanted. I think packaging wise, it's harder to do suspension in a mid-engine car because you have less room in the back and you have all the weight to manage. So that's an expensive platform to do because you can't scale out a mid-engine car.
Mid-engine cars that dynamically are better than front-engine cars.
Technically, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they should be if they're done right.
Do you think they ride better as a general rule? The problem is all mid-engine cars other than the C8.
Well, we don't have mainstream mid-engine cars. You know, all we have is sports car mid-engine cars. So, like, how do you judge that against, like, if you had a mid-engine luxury car versus a mid-engine, like, sports car or the equivalent? I mean, we don't have a basis for comparison.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, like, Ferraris and shit like that, you know, like the bigger Ferraris and sports cars are, like, what's that 718 still a sports car? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I know, for example, like kinematically, like the GT3 is something I had to do a lot of homework on for upcoming project. They doubled the spring rates because they could go to double wishbone, but double wishbone isn't inherently found on all cars that are mid-engined.
Well, most of them are, but like the
718 isn't.
The 4C isn't,
and the 718 isn't either.
right?
So anyway,
Yeah, I don't have a straight answer. I would say you can make any car ride properly. Would mid-engine make it better? Maybe if you had the money to do it, I think anything's possible.
Trent Schaefer for $5. Are you guys planning on reviewing a Buick Regal Tour X? If so, I hope so. I thought about buying one as a daily. Buick doesn't have them in the fleet anymore. I know one person with one, and it is his daily driver. It's not like I'm going to ask him for the car to do a video on. I have spent time in the Buick Regal Tour X. It's not bad because it's not,
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's just in America, like people don't care about wagons like they do not everywhere else, but it's not a big hot segment here, so you don't see a lot of them. But I thought that was a good direction for them.
Yes.
But again, it's like we always joke around about the whole wagon thing, as like everybody says they want it and then
they never buy it.
Yeah.
And this has come up a couple times here. It's like, why do journalists love wagons? And I've talked to you about this in the
I don't get it.
I get it because I don't like SUVs. I don't like big buildings, and it gives me the space of an SUV with the most of the dynamics of a sedan. That's because it's that no compromise thing. But, you're right. If you want a hauler, most people are just going to be like, what has the most space? And they're going to get an SUV.
I think it didn't used to be that way. I think you have to put things in perspective of, we didn't have all the choices in SUVs like 10 years ago. It's not like it is today where you have some of the best products are SUVs because they put so much money in them. Before, if you wanted a really good hauler, you had to get a wagon because they were developed, they were cars, it was easier to make. Now it's not so much the case. You have better choices in the SUV world than you do in the wagons. And I mean, I don't know. Would you rather have more? It depends on what you want. Do you want more performance or you want more space? And in a hauler, what's better? And I think most of the people are going to choose more space.
So Andy the Lab, Joe and Deb say hello.
Hi, Andy and Joe. Hi, Deb.
And their dogs say hello to you, not me. So we visited them in person.
Let's talk about this.
They are a very nice couple who made us dinner, and the food was excellent.
Yeah, until I was sick for the next week. She ground up the dog's food and put it in my food, and she was hoping that I would transform into a dog person, and it didn't happen.
So I have two dogs. Mark is not a dog person. I very much so am. And watching Abby and Andy absolutely savage you every chance they got was amazing.
Abby mauled me, bit me, scratched me every place. I came home with like scars on me. I had to get plastic surgery on my muscles. Those dogs were beasts. It's because that's the typical thing.
They could smell the fear.
They knew that I was not like all into them. So it was like, oh, who's this cool dude that doesn't want me? So they want me even more. And if I did that to a cat, that would be the same thing. You ignore a cat, they're like, oh, this guy's cool. So anyway, yeah.
Are you a real Fonz type?
I'm a real Fonz guy. Especially with a feline. I love those pictures where it's like some little kid holding some like 500-pound cat like this, and it's just like, oh. But yeah, Andy and Joe or not Andy, I keep calling her Andy, Deb, the curator of Andy and Abby Get Nasty. on their channel. They are the best people in the world. I give them a 10 out of 10.
You gonna rate people now?
Yeah, we're gonna do people reviews after this.
Long Block again for $5, and Long Block, thank you for the donation. Nissan Z's date is getting closer and closer. Do you think it'll be up there with the M2 in terms of specialness to drive? I don't know.
Probably not. I mean, we're supposed to do
Maybe.
maybe, and it's like time. We're supposed to do a Z retrospective of all the Z cars, and then launching the 400 or whatever it is. The
Yep.
Z. So we have that worked on with Nissan, and they're game for it. It's
just time.
I don't know how else I can pull more time out of my ass. And when you tell me that, it's like, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, maybe like 5 years ago when I had nothing to do but pick my nose.
I thought about this recently. Imagine doing the Miata documentary again.
Oh God, it wouldn't happen.
I mean, it would.
I would not. I'd be like, dude, I'm done after the first day. I'd be like, I'm out of here, dude. I can't do this. So I don't know. It's all right. Anyway, it's about the car. The car is gonna be good, and it's gonna be affordable. I'm just kind of waiting to see how they put the manual trans, all that power, and how they manage it. I think it's gonna be probably crazy. It's gonna be like a tire annihilation machine.
Yeah, if it doesn't have real rear tires, I want it to be like the base Mustang GTs where they come on 235s.
I don't know. I think it's going to be really good because the motor makes so much power. That car is going to be a rocket.
Yeah, and it's got it's double wishbone.
Yeah, it's an evolution of what they had before with a manual. So I think people are going to
people are going to eat that car up. And in many ways, if it's good, it's going to hurt Toyota on their 86. And this is a question that's been asked a bunch of times. What do you think of the new 86? We talked about it briefly in the beginning. I rode in one. Mark did not. If you look at the numbers, it's basically an evolution of what's currently in the market, and they've solved some of the problems. So if you like the car as it is today, you're getting the same thing, but just...
But what is it? Is it like 25% better than the last one? 50?
I didn't drive it.
But I mean, like overall, what do you think? Is it
like 25% better.
Okay.
The motor alone, having torque, and to come down lower in the RPM band.
Big deal.
Big deal. It still sounds like a garbage can, though.
Well, that's what do you expect?
Next question. Will there be an Audi TT video or review in the future? And this is for E-Corp for $2. If probably, maybe unlikely. Unless a viewer gave us one, we're never getting one from Audi. I would love to do a TTRS. 5-cylinder, turbo, high horsepower, Haldex, weird car.
Well, they just killed that car.
Yeah, I know. That's why we'll never get one.
All right.
So, unless it's a viewer. I would love to do a video on it. I think it's a neat car, but unlikely.
Matt from Patreon said, I have a 370Z. I use about 3 track days a year. I've done the diff, oil cooler, and a few other mods. The last thing I'm missing to get it ready to beat it around the track is a big brake kit. It's a large investment. With the 400Z coming out, I'm considering waiting and upgrading to that car. Any thoughts on whether the upgrade the brakes and stick with the 370 or upgrade to a 400 in a year? Just do pads and rotors for now. Kill the pads on rotors every time you go out in the brake fluid and wait because, like you said, a big brake kit's going to cost you about a good one is like a $3,000 to $3,500 investment. So just do the pads and rotors for the 3 track days a year and then see where you're at.
And the 400Z probably with a real set of tires will be faster than the car he's currently.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's the engine alone.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. And you get the same basically architecture. Right. So what you like about your car plus another at least 100
improved
horsepower.
Rigidity,
all that other fun stuff. It's going to be a much, much better car. Calvin W. for $10. Ignoring the Subaru Outback, the only wagons available in Canada, CPO, are VW, Audi, Mercedes, and Volvo. Do you have opinions on which brand would outlive their warranties the longest? Yikes. Volvo, I would never buy your car without a warranty. I would never buy a Volvo without a warranty.
You're weak.
Yeah, this guy, my Volvo's fine. It replaced the head. Supercharger.
I replaced the whole car.
Oh, that's the key with the Volvo, right? If you get a warranty, you actually get a new car because they just replace everything on it.
You or by 150,000 miles, everything's new. That's assuming they want to fix it. That's the other problem.
What about VW, Audi, Mercedes? Out of those two, Mercedes or VW, Audi group?
VW.
I would too, yeah. VW, Audi. There you go. Get a A6 wagon or an A4
Yeah, something
wagon.
that's mass produced, that's shared across a large amount of vehicles is always a better bet. The more esoteric and the more like, unshared it is, the more parts cost, all that crap.
And we got a couple questions about why we didn't do a video today, and it's because we ran out of time.
You know it's bad when I can't get something out. I think it's got to that point now where...
And we get the car, to be fair, the car we got that we've been reviewing is weirdly with certain brands, they'll just tell us we're getting something last minute, literally days before, and it's a take it or leave it opportunity. The TLX is a prime example of that. They told us we were going to get it. They didn't tell us when, and then it showed up.
And you can't say no.
No, you can't say no.
So that's Friday's video, the TLX Type S. And then what are we doing for Monday? Like, okay, so we're going on what are we doing this week?
We're going to Road Atlanta to shoot a part of our documentary with Porsche.
So we're doing the GT3 stuff, the 992. So we leave on what, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
So we leave Wednesday morning. We go there, we film Wednesday night,
Thursday.
all day, fly back Friday, have a car that's 2 cars that are sitting here. We have to film a car in 2 days, so I have a video to release
And Matt
on
was
Monday.
supposed to drop off an IS350F Sport today.
Oh, that never happened. Did it get pushed off?
I have no idea. Did you push it off?
I don't know. I don't remember now.
I got to call Matt. But anyway.
Anyway, so we're going to come back from a trip, and I have to literally come back from a trip, drive a car, film a car in like 1 day, and then edit it.
So I work weekends, so does Mark. Mark's got more family obligations than I have, so I can pull the 7 days thing, but put this in perspective. Every week for the next month and a half, one of us will be traveling for work. Mm-hmm. Every week. There's a Bronco launch coming up. We're doing this thing. What the hell are we doing next? We're doing, and then we have big projects. But thankfully for our viewers, if you like cars, the car quality of what's coming out has increased exponentially.
Yeah, and so the byproduct of this personally is
work.
It's a drudgery. So in order to do this, play this game, well, now we have the corporate stuff, which is a whole other ball
which we're not
of
going to
pressure.
get into.
Yeah, we can't get into that, but the corporate stuff is in a massive amount of pressure because you have to,
it has to be amazing.
It's no joke. Yeah,
Yeah.
like this isn't just your own personal thing. This is somebody else's stuff. So you have that. Then you have the obligation to feed the beast, which is what I call it. And you have to feed it. You have to, or you get killed on it. And it has to be good. It has to still follow what you're trying to do. You have to make people happy with it. And then your love for what you're doing starts to dissipate. So,
I mean, this is peak for me for the next 2 weeks. I was thinking about it driving here. So we are doing the GT3, which that video, and we're doing a 991.1 and 991.2 like documentary on
so
modern
it's not.
GT.
It's the past 2 generations of the GT3 and the brand new one.
Yes,
And the cup car stuff.
and it'll be like the LFA video.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting the head of 911 to be on camera, Patrick Long, Lee Keen. The cars are going up in the air. It's a full technical retrospective. It's not just it's cool and it's fast. This is a real video, and it's a nightmare to.
And not getting paid to do it.
And we're doing it for free.
Right,
We're
yeah.
probably going to lose money doing this.
Yeah. So
At least in our time, and on top of actually all the money associated with going to all these places, flying, blah, 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 blah. But you're getting that video. And then once we come back from this, we have an E63S wagon and a 911 Turbo S. Then the week after that, we get a Mark 8 GTI, one of the pre-production Euro spec cars. Then the week after that, we have right up your alley, we get one of the only Mugen Civic Type Rs in the United States, built by the supplier from Mugen Japan, so from King, and we get a original Mugen spec'd Integra Type R. That's all this month.
yeah, there's a lot of cars, and there's not enough time in the day. So it's hard to try to do this stuff and be in the moment because, obviously, the people that are watching this, if you're into cars, you have this in your mindset what your dreams would be. And right now, I'm literally getting to live the dream of me 15 years ago, getting access to all these cars, but I'm no longer enjoying the access because it's the pressure.
Because if
and
I
the
told you
time.
15 years ago, like me,
Yeah.
15 years ago, it was like 10. But
Yeah, right. Yeah, you weren't even born yet.
But if you told me in high school, like, Jack, you're gonna get to meet Patrick Long, you're gonna interview him, and then you're going to get to drive a GT3 by yourself at Road Atlanta, chasing Patrick Long. It's a dream. And you and I are thinking about, oh, fuck, we got to get on a plane.
Well, yeah, no, it's not just that. It's like you have to do a good job. You know, like it's the pressure that I have on myself not to do this stuff and to evolve it.
It's got to be LFA grade.
Yeah, it's got to be good, and that's the only way to survive in this game that we're trying to do. And to making free stuff that people continue to watch, and like the subscriber thing, it's really starting to get. I've always said this: the subscriber number I don't care about, but to see the number so bad means that I have to ask because people are not doing it, or we've maxed out that small amount of people in market.
We know we're a very niche group of people who are willing to sit through a 20, 40, 15-minute video about engineering.
Right, yeah. No, you're right. So it's hard, though. I need those numbers to improve, to continue that algorithm to keep showing the content. And then when we go to do these projects, you have to have the numbers to be like, we want to do something big for you, for this company. We're not asking for money. We want to showcase this. We want to tell a story. Give us the people that made it. Give us the access. And they're like, well, you only had 100 subscribers this month. You know, like that's the shit that you're up against in this game. And obviously we have a large body of work now. It's not as big of a deal as it used to be. But those numbers are more important to the business than they are to me personally. And now I'm getting pissed off because I have to ask for it because people are not doing it. And, you know, I have to figure out creatively how I'm going to do it in a way that's digestible, not only to the viewers, but to me, to constantly ask the stereotypes of asking and all that shit. So,
all right, moving on from us
sorry.
complaining, I feel like, and I apologize for those just who watch this complain, but there is some catharsis in it for us. KJ Ballin 14 for $10. For the value and reliability, what will compete with the TLX Type S? Is the upcoming IS 500 a direct competitor? Where do you think they will price the Lexus? So there is no pricing release unofficially or officially. And you and I had this conversation again, Mark. So the TLX Type S will be a mass-produced car. They'll sell a lot of them, and it'll be, what, $53,000, thereabouts?
I think so.
The IS 500, Lexus has said it'll be a limited production car. Mm-hmm. So even if it's like $55,000 or $60,000, the dealers are going to annihilate you.
There's no way you're getting that car for under 60. No way. If they're going to make it limited, the dealers are going to absolutely scalp you to death on it. And that car is going to be worth a lot. I mean, it may not be the best car, but it's going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, and so I got to ride in it.
But that one was modified.
Yeah, the one I rode in has no bearing. And they had one of their pro drivers. So I got to meet Pruitt, Scott, who put me in a Fuji with him. And I have no idea who drove the other one. And he drove it like a madman. And obviously you have a pro-level driver.
Right.
It's the dynamics in the passenger seat. Particularly it had turn downs, it had lowering, springs, and a wing, and all this other garbage. So I have no idea, but it sounded great.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So what else competes with the TLX Type S? IS 350 F Sport, but the motor...
those are the most direct competitors. The two kind of Japanese cars, those would be the two. And it just, I guess it depends on what you want. The TLX is going to annihilate the IS 350, and it's just because of the motor. It doesn't have what it takes to keep up. I think dynamically, the IS is going to be more connected to drive, but the TLX is going to be a much better car.
Oh, no doubt. The TLX, so I drove the IS 350 on track, the F Sport. You know, all the other journalists hate the motor. They're like, oh, this is garbage. I will say it does two things better than the than the TLX. The gearbox does an auto upshift. Mm. So if you are driving on the track, you can bang the limiter in certain corners and not put you in the wrong gear. And it is still rear driven, which means it's a car that will trail brake and it'll under braking rotate into a slide. You can't just give it gas to get it to rotate, but it's impressive. Dynamically, it's a really, really good car. It's just not fast.
Right.
And the motor is not good by modern standards.
Yeah, it's a new dated car, but again, you're not, the people that are buying the IS 350 and the TLX Type S are not somebody that's like, oh, I've had like 10 Audis and 5 BMWs.
Unless they got burned by those brands.
Right. That's it. They're not going to appeal to that. So I guess you have to look at it differently. I would say right now the TLX would be a better car to have and own long term because it does everything better. Really, overall, the whole scope of it. But the IS, personally, I would rather the IS because I like the way it looks. I like the style of it. I like what the kind of the ethos of what they're doing.
Rear drive platform,
Rear-wheel
naturally
drive
aspirated.
and naturally aspirated motor that it will never have a problem ever. And I'd be willing to make those trade offs. That's me. So.
Yeah, you just objectively, from a reviewer's perspective.
Yeah, TLX is like, that's the best cool sedan you could probably get.
For the money.
For the money, absolutely.
I think the Germans do a better job, but they are way more money.
And they have way less character.
And are not as reliable. But for a lease,
Well, you don't know reliability. This is
That's
their
fair.
first motor that they were, the first engine with a twin turbo V6 that they made. So who knows?
Adrian Q. What current future 2022 electric vehicle, excluding Teslas due to their charging network, do you believe has a chance for mass adoption? And where's the Arby's? So I made him not get Arby's today.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, it's live stream day. Let's hit Arby's. He's like, yeah, well, maybe it would be a good idea if we didn't. So then I punched him. No, we didn't get Arby's. What was the other part of that? All I heard was Arby's, dude, and everything went black.
What brand or company do you think will do mass adoption EV other than Tesla?
Ford.
Ford has a really good chance of doing that now with the F-150. Toyota's behind the 8 ball, they know it. But once Toyota figures out a way to build infrastructure, and then infrastructure has to be worked on with a local government as well, realistically, that's the only way to do a massive infrastructure.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Like that is huge, but that's at least 5 years out. The Kia and Hyundai keep pushing this EV thing, and personally, to me, the whole EV thing with Kia and Hyundai, I do not believe them. I don't believe them from past experience with dealing with them. Every time I asked them questions, they were not serious about EV. Now all of a sudden they're serious about EV until I see these cars on the road, like really on the road, not just in California. I definitely am going to wait and see on that one. But yeah, I think Ford is in the best position. They're the first one to EV a truck, and that's like
The perfect platform.
groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care about it, but I mean, you know, you can do that to the biggest volume seller in the world and make it work. Then it's just
And Ford has the connections with the local U.S. government to build infrastructure. If I was Ford, and I'm sure this is what they're doing, I'd work with my local government, in this case Detroit, and subsidize them and help them build an EV infrastructure for my trucks. So not only is it a marketing win, it's an engineering win as well.
yeah. Sounds good to me. So give me some of that money. So I'm in local government. I want some of that money. How do you give it to me? I'll put whatever you want up. I'll put a sign of your face on the every charger if you want. If you give me a couple $100,000 a year.
R-More07, are there any makes or models, thank you for the $5, with genuinely connected feeling electric power steering? Who is doing the best EPS?
Affordably?
Oh, no, well, you just said best, Porsche.
I don't know.
All right, what's the best steering car you've driven?
Anything that doesn't have an assist. I mean, honestly, I don't know. All the electric power steering racks feel almost completely the same to me. And the more they tout the marketing that they're amazing, the more I'm like,
I don't know. We talked about it. So like the 86, it's still rack
the
mounted.
86 is probably one of the best.
And then the 992.
Yeah, then probably I would say honestly the 86. That's a really good one. But then again, it's Subaru who has historically amazing steering feel on their older generation
Yeah, the
cars.
S209 with the
Yeah.
draw stiffeners in the front was incredible.
Yeah, I mean one of the best steering cars out there aside from, like real hardcore sports cars. So the 86 was always good, but they have that foundation, obviously, that whatever they're doing with mounting and front subframes and all that, how they have it set up, it just translates well into an EPS. And I think the problem, we talk about this a lot, their goal in making cars is not to transmit anything through the steering wheel. So by design, to start, you're already numbed everything out. So when they go to make a sports car version, like, oh shit, we started everything by numbing it out. Now we got to take things out, and it's not like pure. So you don't get a lot of feeling back, no matter what you do. So I don't know. Buy an 86.
Yeah, and the new 86 as well. They revised the bushing in the steering rack to make it even more direct. That's something they talked about as well.
Well, direct is different than feel, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have a direct steering rack. You can make any car direct steering rack. You just make it
Yeah,
like
that's what
lightning
BMW
quick.
does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you don't feel anything. So
It doesn't load up.
yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question in that regards. I know that one's a little tough. But a Supra donkey for $20 Canadian. I bought a 2020 Supra on every Hyundai accent driver wants to race me, and why?
A Supra?
Yeah, he's a cool dude. He bought a Supra.
Why does every Hyundai accent? Because they're jealous, bruh. Now, I think a lot of it is curiosity of people wanting to see what it is the car can do. They want to hear it. They want to see it go by. They want to see it accelerate. I found that that's what a lot of people do when they stop me. And when I'm in like the Kia Rio, especially, like I'll roll down my windows like, man, is that a Kia Rio? I'm like, can you do like a CVT dump? So I just get that thing wound up, and they're like, wow.
On a serious note, it's amazing. You know, if you remove yourself from like the weird subculture that is the internet when it comes to cars, regular people don't think of the Supra as being a BMW or whatever.
No,
They think
absolutely.
it's a cool sports
No,
car.
it looks, I mean, there's nothing else that looks like it.
Yep.
So it does have that huge wow factor. Somebody stopped me the other day. I was in the car and they're like, man, that car looks so cool. What is it? You know, what is it like? And like, is it loud? Is it fast? I'm like, this is at a stoplight. I'm like, you know, you're trying to give them a history lesson on this car without sounding like a douche. But they were more excited about it than I was.
You just pull out your Monroney and be
Yeah,
like,
well,
109.
I paid so much money. You know, you can only make this in 3 years.
Next question from Nick Dion for $20. I have a 2016 Audi S6 with 87,000 miles. Have an expensive cleaning engine out service at 100K and a turbo screen service every 40,000. Is it worth keeping to 150,000 miles realistic / reasonable? No, I would not keep that car to 150,000 miles.
Why not?
An engine out?
Engine out. That's nothing.
I don't know, man. I mean, the 16 S6 still had the twin turbo V8, if I remember. It's a really cool car. I feel like a lot of these cars, particularly automatic luxury sedans that are even, you know, super sedans like that is, they're not a car you keep long term. They're like a here and now purchase, and
Right.
then sooner or later they go off to live their life at a buy here pay here lot.
I saw an S8, not an S8,
S7?
A8
A8.
in Woodstock at like one of the buy here, pay here lots. The thing, like, it looked like it was about 8 years old, and the thing was listed for $17,000. And I'm like, hey, maybe I should stop in. Then I'd be making those videos. Hey, man, I got this cool car for $10,000, and I put $50,000. Here's my journey, and my girlfriend, she's got a bikini on. Oh, sorry, that was your plan.
No, that's what I plan on doing when I buy a new 86.
When you buy your BMWs. I bought all the cheapest M cars, and now women want me.
They want me when it's on the tow truck driving by.
They can ride on the tow truck. It's cool. The horns are loud on those. We got to do a speed round. So we said we're going to end at 6:30. It's already past that, and we have to shoot the TLX tonight.
All right, so please stop donating.
Yeah, don't donate. Whatever you've done so far is way more than expected. You're going to get a lot for your money. I promise you. And subscribe, like, follow me on every single social media platform.
Oh shit, we've got a lot of questions.
How many?
A lot.
Like, what's a lot?
Like half a page worth.
Define the numbers. Do you have numbers?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably like 20. So I'm gonna speed through these.
Okay, so we're getting close to battery being dead, so we'll speed through it.
Oh my god. Alrighty then. Having a LX 470, LS 530, and now a used GS 350 that I can electronically and mechanically maintain. Do you feel the newer ownership experience of cars benefits and outweighs the cost? That didn't actually make any sense to me. So he has an LX 470,
Yeah.
LS 430, and now a used GS 350.
Okay.
He can service them and maintain them. But do you feel like the ownership of a newer car the benefits of owning a newer car outweighs the cost of not being able to work on it.
The whole problem with the new cars is they're expensive and they're way more complicated. And they're more complicated for a multitude of reasons, which we talked about a lot. So not only are you paying more, but your costs to keep them long term are going to be way more excessive as they get broken and are difficult to fix. We saw that with the new LS500. The head mechanic who's been working on Lexus cars for 20 years said the worst car he's worked on, the worst Lexus, was the new twin turbo V6. The engine is so hard to work on. Everything's hard to get at. That's a perfect example of, even from one of the most reliable companies, how complicated shit has gotten. And that's that brand. You can times that by a lot more with the other companies. So the whole point is, I don't want to get caught up on this old shit's better, but old things were more simple because they could be. Now they are no longer because they have to be complicated to meet all these regulations. So you keep the long-term stuff, and anything new you have to lease.
And that was from Daniel for $10. Moving on to the next question. Carlos for 5. What luxury SUV would you put money on? Thoughts on a 3-row coming from Lexus? There is a 3-row. It's called the RX 350L, and it's terrible.
I don't think it's terrible, but the third row is a joke.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's terrible. It's a 3-row. It's useless.
There. Yeah, it's just there for the sake of having something on sale. It's not particularly usable.
What luxury SUV would you buy?
Real luxury SUV, 3-row?
Yeah.
XC90 with a huge warranty. I think it's one of the best 3-rows you can get. It's enormous. It just, you're going to have it in the shop a lot. And then the
BMW.
Q7.
Yeah, to me it's BMW X7 because it's the same thing as the X5.
That's too much money.
How much is that thing?
It's a lot of fucking money. I think it starts at like 90.
Oh, all right, never mind then.
Unless I'm mistaken.
I don't know.
I think the Q7 starts cheaper. So the Volvo's the cheapest price of entry. Then you get to the Q7 and then X7.
Woman respecter for $5. Hope this pays off your gold chain from the Bentayga video.
Yeah, man, I'm still on. That thing was on layaway. They let me borrow it for a day for the shoot, but I got to bring it back and pay it off.
Joseph for $2. Can we talk about the new Mazda CX-5 coming out? We talked about it briefly in the beginning of the stream with a factory between Lexus and Toyota and Mazda. Who knows? I don't know what it's going to be like.
I have no idea what they're going to pump out of there, but my guess is it's a CX-5. It's going to be some CX-5 variant because that's their highest volume car, and they need to have it locally so they're not eating shit shipping it out of Japan with the conversion.
I'm going to butcher your name. I'm sorry, man. Prane for $10. Thank you for your donation. Buying my 19 Raptor was a lesson in checking the mechanical design for corner cutting. In his car's case, the intercooler fan is low and eats sand off-road. What's the best resource for finding designs before buying a car? Honestly, this one's tough. As like a member of public and not the press corps, trying to read any of the engineering briefs or product releases they do ahead of time. But Ford is a good example. They don't really share any of that information because they don't think their customers value it. So again, that's kind of like our job to talk about it. But even then, the engineering, most outlets don't talk about it. So it's hard to know anything.
Right.
So I'm sorry that's not a good answer for you, but that's just the realities of this. Or, buy a car that's been out for a long time that is an enthusiast product. People are going to talk about the defects pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So Forbes.
Yeah.
Alan Park for $5. One high-performance daily E63 wagon RS6 versus a 2-car garage, which is an SUV and sports coupe. What would you do?
Let's say that again. Sorry.
Would you rather have 2 cars, like an SUV and a sports car?
Yes.
I agree. I think unless you're already so rich you can afford an E63 and you can also have your sports car.
If you only have 2 cars, you got to have the real car, and you got to have the fun car. That's it. And to make that real car do everything, it's got to be the hauler, it's got to have the space, it's got to have all the practical stuff, so you're not sacrificing that one and then having to get a third one. If you can only do 2. If you get 3 cars, then you have the tier of it. You have a GT car, you have a hauler, and then you have a pure sports car. I mean, that's...
Or, to be fair as well, if you never have time to drive your car, like Chris, the guy who owns the GT3, and your only little bit of fun is going to work, then have your one sports car. In his case, he's a Macan Turbo.
That's the problem, because you're talking about a totally different issue. He doesn't have the time for even his sports car, so he probably shouldn't have the sports car.
I agree. Well, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, it's like a garage jewel. It's garage jewelry, and I know I'm sure he hates it. He hates it like I do in some cases, like doing that. But I don't know. There's no right answer. It's based on what you want.
Booty Blasted for $5. Wish your bidet video got more views. Recently got a cheap one. It's changed my life.
There's not anybody that I know, unless you get a staph infection from the bidet, that has anything negative to say about having your b-hole sprayed clean. Or if you're a whatever gender, if you don't have a b-hole, if it's just butt cheeks, or just you wash your face with it, it's going to change you.
Oh my God. Moses for $5. Let's be real. If Andy the Lab's video played on your channel, it would do better.
What video?
Yeah, any video. Deb makes some of the, genuinely, we were talking about this today. It kills me that Deb's videos don't get more views sometimes because her cinematography and her perspective is unique and very, very good.
I'm not going to comment too much on that. I think there's ways that she could get more views, but it will require her to do things that she is not currently in the place to do. She has to feed the beast way more. She has to release more videos.
Yep.
And it's a grind that I don't think she could possibly do, nor could she want to do that. Yes, I think her videos would do better as maybe like collaborations, but I don't know, what's the value to her to do that? Then it's not her own stuff. Like, you're right. If I put like her DBX video on my channel and I just put myself in it for like 2 minutes, probably do great. She needs that exposure, but she's also playing to a different market. Like, the people that watch my shit want to know technical stuff. They want to know like engineering.
Her videos.
Hers are for like real people that are buying these things and women. And there's probably 90% of the, well, I don't know what her statistics are, but it got to be a lot more women that watch her stuff than watch me.
Sure.
And I mean, like, I got 3 girls that watch it and I have to pay all of them and the rest are bots.
Mr. Physical for $5. When will you review a Chevy Celebrity?
Oh my God. If I could get one, I would, but they're all in the boneyard out here, dude. Like, if you found one, be a miracle.
Yeah, good luck. J Mac for $5. We've already answered this question, but we'll quickly. IS350 all-wheel versus TLX.
TLX.
I agree.
Thank you.
Zach Malowski for $5. Just bought a 2018 Mercedes E400 wagon to keep as a long-term daily. How screwed am I? If things start going poorly and you run out of warranty, you're totally screwed. Wow Doge. Hi, Mark. Currently waiting on the Bronco reservations, my second vehicle. What's your opinion on them? Well, Wow Doge, we're going to go to the product launch here shortly, so you'll know right after that. It's at the end of the month. For $5 from the Mighty Tweg. What do you think about the price tag on the 718 GTS 4-liter?
What do I think about the price tag of it? It's high, but it's good.
It's amazing.
You said it was like, if you don't have the GT4 money, you're not really losing that much with that car.
Not as a street car.
Not as a street car. I think it's appropriately priced. It's a value.
Oh my God. Mr. Lawstead. We're almost through these, Mark. Don't worry. When do you think car prices will come back to normal? I sold my car and I don't feel like buying one at its current prices.
Next year.
Yeah, probably after winter. Han W for $5. ND MX5, 2019 Toyota 86, and a 2018 M2 DCT not competition. Which one would you sell? 86.
86.
Yeah, the ND and the M2 fulfill a more interesting segment. Adam E 52 for $5. More R talk, not daily anymore. Just going to sell my 18 Golf R and just find a cheap, fun used car for a few years. Not a good idea then right now because of used prices. Yeah, I wouldn't buy a car right now because of used prices. But if you want to sell one like your Golf R, it makes sense.
If you had to buy one, then you're going to pay a lot more. That's it.
Daniel Arndt for $10. Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you and thank you for all your videos. I recently bought a ND2 as my post-divorce midlife crisis car and I absolutely love it. Coming from a domestic car, guys, your vids opened my eyes. Daniel, congratulations on the ND2. That car's amazing.
Yeah, I don't see it as a divorce midlife crisis car. I think it's just a fun car.
That you bought the wrong car for a divorce car. That's a C5 automatic.
A C5 pace car. C5 pace car with the Harley livery on the back. No, I think that's a car that opens your eyes to what it is, how fun and whimsical driving can be. there's nothing else like that car left. So enjoy it, and hopefully you recover from the divorce and get out of that and move on.
Dino Dunes for $5. I wanted to buy a clean S2000 at the end of the year. My fool for not buying something else at $35K. I once lost my dream car, NSX, to the markups.
That's a tough one, man. Like it's a retro, like hindsight's a bitch with cars.
Yep.
Like I was like that person. I hated the NSX. Well, I didn't hate it. I just didn't see the value in the NSX once the S2000 was out. And now, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I wish I would have bought an NSX. Yeah. And, because they were at, for a long time, they were like just 50, 50 grand, 50, 60 grand for a decent one. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
And now they're over 100, yeah.
Well, I'm an idiot.
Eek Thalion for $10. When I see a Subaru Bentley collaboration, I want to drive a Bentaru Continental WRX. It's basically a Continental GT with a stick shift and a wing. What collaborations would you like to see? Man, that sounds amazing.
A Bentley Subaru comic. Oh, that would be a horrific.
That'd be incredible, dude.
You'd have a great leather stitched interior that was all buzzy and rattly with an infotainment that was just
garbage.
Yeah, it would electrocute you or something. I don't know.
What would be the worst collaboration car?
Oh man, that's a great question. I want to go towards the funniest response, and I'm so brain locked.
What would you? To me, it would have to be something American.
Yeah.
It'd be like American and French. Oh wait, there's a company like that already.
I don't know, like Tata and Ram or something. Like an Indian Ram.
Oh man, that would be incredible.
Yeah. It was like half rickshaw / pickup truck.
Pooh Panda for $5. Any more fine print series? We have one coming up, actually. We're having...
I wouldn't say what it is.
Yeah.
But it's something that's never been done before, and it's extraordinarily involved. I think it will open up a lot of doors. I don't know how many people are going to watch it, but it's definitely something any viewer on here is going to learn so much that you've never heard or never seen before, and especially for future stuff. And it's one of those that you could easily share out and get people to be educated on the topic. So I'm excited for it. I just know it's not going to pay off for the amount of work that we're putting into it.
Baby Gravy 969, or 696, my bad. Have you guys driven the new Camaro? What are your opinions on the car? We both drove the ZL1 1LE. Mm-hmm. Amazing. You just can't see it.
Yeah, SS. The SS, and then the 1LE, and then the 1LE. I'm sorry, the ZL1 1LE and the SS 1LE. They're, top dog.
You just can't see out of them.
Yeah, that's it. It's like being in a bread box with tints.
Ezio del Arte. Hi, what's your best U.S. car currently in production? I'm a European who fell in love with American cars.
Mach 1. And C8, even though I hate the C8.
GT500.
Well, yeah, I guess. I feel like the Mach 1 is the car that you would buy and you wouldn't have to worry about it having a problem.
Yeah, probably. Friscoism. Where's the beef and cheddar? This is a live stream. Did Arby's stop sponsoring you? So
I had a problem with corporate Arby's this week.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I talked to Joe, who handles their beef and cheddar mix. And last time I'm like, dude, the cheddar ratio is all off. It just tasted dry. So I'm like, dude, Joe, what are we going to do about this? And he's like, I'll tell you what, you can go fuck yourself. So he cut me off of the beef and cheddars. He does not want bad PR on this channel. So I'm going to try to work my magic with him this week. Probably slide into his house, just get drunk and drive right through his front window. Where's my beef and cheddar, Joe?
EVO 67 for $10. Really appreciate all the work you do. Have you ever reviewed a BMW 1M? I have one since new. Was considered selling it for an M2 CS before it was gone, but decided to keep the 1M at the end. I drove a 1M a long, long time ago, and it was amazing. But it's like the M2. It's basically the same shit.
I drove a 1M. I just hate the way those cars look.
But you hate the way the M2 looks, too.
Do I like the M2? I hate the M2.
You hate both of them.
I just feel like it's like a Honda Civic, dude. It's like, to me, I look at it, I'm like, yeah. No, they're actually one of the better cars to drive. I don't know what it is. I don't like the way that they look. They look all like distorted.
I think the 1M will always be a special car, and the M2CS will be special for different reasons.
You got to be a BMW person to really like those.
We're
cars.
doing an M2CS this summer too.
Oh,
we're
we
working
are?
with a charity. Yeah, oh, yeah. Congrats. Well, I told you about this. We're working with
Oh,
a
yeah,
charity.
yeah,
We're
I
taking it to
blacked
the
it.
track.
I blacked it out.
Uh,
No, I mean I'm sure it's amazing.
John Dara for $5. Any word on a Patagonia sponsor? So I looked into it. They don't sponsor anyone.
Yeah, they ain't gonna sponsor the most wasteful industry. Like, hey man, we talk about disposable cars they spend billions of dollars on creating waste. Can you sponsor us? The guy would probably be like Joe from Arby's, dude. He'd probably drive his hang glider through my windshield with a bayonet on the front of it.
This is locally sourced hang glider.
Yeah, it's his hand-built hang glider that he flew across the country on the windtails.
I hate shysters for $5. You think government's mandating only zero-emission vehicles for the future is realistic?
I don't know, dude. You have 5 years, 4 years. It could be like we're going coal-powered cars, and then all of a sudden we're getting rid of emissions, and or we're gonna block everything. I don't know. I'm tired of thinking about it. I don't think it's realistic short term.
No,
Like,
the infrastructure is the problem.
Yeah. Just let me know if it's back.
It's not back yet.
Is the audio back?
It says it's the next. Oh, hello, we're back. Look at that.
All right. So there might be audio delay now.
I have no idea.
I mean, it depends, but really, we need to kill this. So what I'll do is how many questions?
Oh,
are
they're
left?
back. Can you hear us?
Is there a delay as well in our voices to video?
It's back.
Yeah, we know that.
We have 5 questions left.
Okay, fine. Just get it done.
All right.
I'm going to the bathroom. Yeah, I'll still talk while you're doing that.
All right. There's no delay.
Good.
You just gonna bring the mic in like you're
yeah.
Frank Drebin.
I'm gonna put my hands on the wall.
All right. So it's just me and you now. This is real fun. All right. So I'm gonna go back to the question. So what Fuck YouTube asked was, is there a better car for the money for power output than the Supra right now that's brand new? Probably not. It's a great car. I just drove it on track for like a quarter of a day recently at Toyota headquarters. Dynamically, it's wonderful. It rotates in a braking great. It's really well balanced. If you're a taller person, like I am, your head's going to hit the roof and it doesn't have a lot of visibility. Obviously, there is the wind buffeting thing, which is annoying when you have both windows down. And if you're really a Toyota person and you like real Toyotas, the BMW-ness might bug you. It doesn't bother me, but oh well. Hamid for $5. Don't be afraid to ask for subscribers. I will tell Mark that. Mebla Toast for $3. Any thoughts on the first gen Jeep SRT8 rising in value from Haggerty? Of course, Mark brought the mic pack into the bathroom with him. This fucking guy. Unfucking believable. Like, oh, Jack, what's it like to work with a true professional? Like, oh, let me tell you. Unfucking believable. The first gen Jeep SRT8 rising in value seems like, honestly, if you've driven one, the gearbox is so horrible. And that car, all it did was get mechanically better throughout the years. The styling changed. So I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. JD Tech and Gear for $10. Unbelievable. Mark is unbelievable. All right. It's a Mark's mic day. No, my mic. Can you guys hear me? I appreciate that, Mark. That was incredible.
What? What happened?
They couldn't hear my story about the SRT8G.
They couldn't?
No, they couldn't hear it over.
What the? I thought I muted my mic, dude.
Yeah, okay.
I have the final question just whenever we get there. Sorry about that, guys. That was not intentional.
Yeah, okay. JD Tech and Gear for $10. Have you ever considered doing a video topic on engine tuning and affecting the drivability of effects on the drivetrain and suspension stress, blah, 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 blah. We are planning on one day doing a fine print video on ECU tuning.
Yeah, we had it planned, but I
scheduled too many cars.
Yeah, Jack scheduled too many cars and projects where I can't physically go to bed anymore.
On for $5 Canadian. Hi guys, asked a while ago about releasing an RS3 video. I would love to do an RS3, but we're never going to get one at this rate. I've asked local viewers, no one has them. And
They still make it, right?
Audi ain't giving us squat. They're like, oh, we have five cars in all of North America.
Put it on the list. Email them, because I emailed them 3 cars. I emailed them I wanted the SQ7, the R8, and like 2 other cars. They're like, oh, we don't have either of them, but they're in a model changeover, so we'll put that on the list. You're right. I mean, we should have this stuff. Honestly, there's no excuse why not to. So
between the new BRZ and the ND2, this is for $20 for Wood and Steel. I live in the Chicagoland area and love the content. Well, thank you, Wood and Steel 92. If you need to use the car every day, the new BRZ, right?
Yep.
Over the ND.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's more usable.
Farouk Shahib for $5 Canadian. Oh, we're so close, Mark. We're almost done. Can you do a fine print video explaining suspension components?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, we should do that.
Yeah, because I know a lot, but I'm not obviously an engineer, so we'll get somebody on the engineering side that is competent to talk on camera, and we'll walk through different things to explain like the differences of it. And that's something I've wanted to do. Again, it's just the fine print ones take the most amount of time to do them right, and
Often don't have a lot of reward.
no, they typically don't, because it's so obscure.
Sean for $20 Canadian recently bought a lightly used GT350, partially influenced by your opinion. I considered it a low spec C8, but there's no manual, and I figured the GT350 was a better driver's car. Do you think I made the right choice? 350 or C8? 350.
350.
It's an amazing car.
Yeah, it's always the right answer.
Till it blows up.
Yeah.
Kyle Hernandez, what do you think about the best Grand Tour for $30,000 to $40,000 new or used?
Oof. Does that exist? Grand Tours for that money?
I can't think of one. Mustang.
Like, no, I'm thinking of GT cars. Like,
The Mustang
we're
is a
talking
GT.
about like that XF Jag. Are we talking about like that type of stuff?
Let's say sports cars, something that's fun in the
Oh.
twisties and doesn't look like a turd. Slightly used Mustang or Camaro. You can't get an RCF for that price. You can't get a BMW that's reliable. ND is too small. BRZ isn't a great GT car. It's a good daily. It's not a good GT car.
What about like an A6 or something? Is that a GT car?
No, because it's not fun on the twisty.
Yeah, it is. When
it's a 2-liter?
Look, all right, I don't know, dude. I have no idea on that one. That's
$30,000 to $40,000. What's a good GT car?
BMW.
Yeah, you really feel that way?
I mean, what else are you gonna get?
Ferrari.
I mean, I think like you have to go up in price.
Yeah,
know
someone
what I
said
mean?
Kia Stinger.
Okay,
Sure.
there you
Yeah,
go.
there you
no,
go.
that's true. That's a very good point. Let the viewer answer that one. Okay, that viewer is getting $72 next year in successive payments of $1 per week.
Per year.
Per year.
Hater Man for $5 Canadian. Do you think driver-first brands like Mazda have a future in this industry? A future being absorbed by Toyota.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I think the more that dies, the more there's going to be a market for it. People are going to want it. Maybe it's a small percentage, but people are going to want it.
Nuki Poo for $20. He says he loves your content. Thank you, Nuki Poo. I love your name.
I love your name. I love the money. I'm going to bathe myself digitally in that money. If I could shoot digital coins on myself, I would right now.
Derek for $10. Love your content. Thought on the Giulia Quadrifoglio is the second car to a 2011 F-150. Well, it's going to be your third car because your Giulia's going to be in the shop all the time.
Third car to your rental car. Nah, man, I love the Quadrifoglio. I know you never got to drive it, but
Felipe Avalos. God, I feel so bad. I can never do names right.
yeah, well,
Gentlemen, just as a simple thank you for your great work. Thanks for the awesome content. Felipe, I apologize I got your name wrong, and you're an amazing person.
thank you. I'm going to bathe in your digital currency.
Hater Man. Oh, no, I already answered that one. Jake for $5. He's calling us out because we did something wrong.
What do we do?
The Dodge Caliber was unfairly criticized in the prior Q&A. First OEM to realize the future of compacts were CUVs. What is Chrysler doing right today?
They don't make anything.
All right, ignoring Chrysler, Dodge, Stellantis. The Durango's great. You want a 3-row muscle SUV? The Wrangler and Gladiator are unique. That's why Ford had a copy of them in the Bronco. I'm sure Toyota, someone is pushing for something like an FJ.
The Jeep is
Yeah.
good. I mean, their very focused products are very good. And that's why people love them so much, because they're focused on what it is their customer is and all that. I would disagree on the Caliber. I'm sorry that I have to disagree, but I have a magazine in my box over there when the Car and Driver reviewed the Caliber SRT versus all the other cars. And while it certainly had some decent performance, that thing was built like
A shit.
a dumpster.
Yeah.
It really was.
Nicholas George, thank you for the $10 donation. Dwayne, I just bought my first car. Congratulations, Dwayne. It's an S60. I love it. Why don't people love Volvo sedans? Well, because it's an obscure brand. You agree?
Yeah,
Yoshi for $10. Is Mark passing a kidney stone?
I was.
Perfect. Javier, all right, legitimately last like 3 questions. Javier, what's your process for creating YouTube content? Meditating in the Chili's bathroom, or until the amphetamines are made are made on the car or topic? What's your process creatively, Mark?
Simply, it used to be getting absorbed in the product. Now it's the same. Like, I don't really want to know anything about a car until I get in and drive it and get absorbed that way. And pretty quickly, because every car is the same now, there's not a lot of excitement because they're so similar. So I relish the idea of, okay, picking out who this car's for, what it's good at, what it's not good at, and then trying to make it appealing to watch. And that's about it. That's as deep as it gets right now.
Ura P. Auckland for $22 or $23. How about a Peeing Savage Geese t-shirt in the merch shop?
Yeah, peeing on myself. Like missing the car that I'm peeing on. Like, oh, I just burned the bridge and I peed on myself.
We are doing new t-shirts, though.
Yeah, so I know there's there's not a ton of people watching this. So Chicago Auto Pros is still going to ship the shirts, but I made a switch because, as it turned out, the original shirts that got designed were made in the US with foreign materials. And that's my fault because I didn't supervise the entire part of the process. I just thought it would be like, okay, I want a US sourced t-shirt. It wasn't that way. So I've contacted the owner of a company that controls the supply chain. Not only do they make their own shirts physically, they dye their own shirts with their own solutions, their own dyes that are made here. They work with the local farmers that process and make their own cotton.
They
bring
make
the
me
yarn-
work in the sweatshop.
Yeah, they make Jack work and make the shirts for $1 an hour. Everything is controlled, made in America, and that's what these shirts will be made on 100%. And that's going to be the next batch, and that's going to be the final thing going forward. And there might be like a different logo on one versus the other, but right now, because they don't sell a lot, it's $5,000 for one batch. So if I want to do 2 colors, it's 10 grand, and that's putting up a lot of money for merch that I don't care about. So eventually, if they sell a lot, then I'll do different designs. But we're gonna have 2 American-made shirts initially with one logo. The other one will be a different color. That's it.
Joel Jason just quickly claims there's going to be a new Land Cruiser 300 revealed tomorrow. I knew nothing about it, and I was just at Toyota headquarters, so
Okay, maybe is it not America?
I have no idea.
Is it? It might be outside of the U.S.
So I have no opinion on it because I don't know anything about the car.
Well, we'll sit back and watch like you, and then pretend like we knew it happened because you told us. Like, yeah, we knew about that.
M4 Comp Imola Red 6-speed for $5. What do you think of the 440 Grand Coupe and the M550i? The 440 Grand Coupe is hideous looking. You don't even care about the BMWs. You like the M550i. You're like, man, this car's great. I can listen to my Bowers.
The 550 though is more like what you expect a 5 Series to be. I feel like that's just, it's a luxury car. It's got a V8. It rides good. It's fast. Everything works in it, and it doesn't like stand out like you're a douche. I just feel like it's a classic 5 Series. That's why I like it. It's not trying to pretend to be anything else.
Fuzz Niner just got the 2020 G70. Love the car. Hope you guys do another video on the 2022. We will be getting one. Thank you for the $10 Fuzz. I'm glad you like the car.
Thank you.
Squid for hire for $5. These are the last 3.
Okay.
That made my day, so take my money. Thanks, guys. I've owned 2 Stingers in this at this point, the 2-liter and the 3.3. Of course, the 3.3 is better, but still, well, I'm
glad you got to experience the 3.3. It's a car that is like deceivingly quick. It does everything pretty good, and it's a value, I guess, if you could even say that anymore.
Jason Bostrom for $5. Checking in from Hawaii. I need a B16 for my grandma's 4-door EG.
I'd love to see that. One that went to like 9,200 RPMs and then just made a bunch of noise.
And these are 2 thank yous from viewers. iSport 2K8. Thank you for the $5. And Billy Hughes. Thank you for the $25, Billy. We really, really appreciate it. I'm sorry, guys, we can't stay on longer to answer more questions. We've already gone over by almost an hour. And we have to go film the shop segment on the TLX Type S. That video comes out Friday.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. I'm going to answer one last question. This is from a viewer, K. Brewster. And the question is, what is the FR rating of this couch?
This is your couch.
So this couch, just to explain this, to close this out, originally when I was in my early 20s, I had an innovative idea for a business. And this didn't pan out, but it's something I still want to do. I want a patent for an FR rating for furniture, like couches.
Explain what the FR rating is. I know what it is.
Okay. It's a flatulence rating. And this rating gets sent to us as a certifying body. We test and certify every type of seating surface. And then you will pay a licensing fee to get a number placed underneath the couch. So somebody could learn before they potentially have a flatulence event.
How well it absorbs.
Well, 10 is just like a block of wood. Like literally the most sonic. And there's a whole bunch of like, we have like 10 acoustical engineers that are going to kind of work on the different criteria. 1 is like completely absorbed. You're safe to do anything, including like a full-blown like liquid event. A 10 is like, you're skating on thin ice. But if you're like in a store or in a restaurant, you're like, oh shit, I don't know what to do. You could drop your phone and then just poke your head under the chair to take a look at what the number is before you make a conversation mistake. So that's what this new company that I'm trying to spin up is. So the question is, what is this couch? And we haven't had the engineers on this one, but I would say it's like an 8 or a 9 because there's just so much like, I don't know, the material that's in here. It's probably
this couch is also from Bob's.
Yeah, it's from Bob's. So, God knows what's in here. But it's pretty absorptive. The absorption rate is excessive. So now you know about the FR rating, and I think one of the few videos I brought up the FR rating for the seats in the car was the PT Cruiser. The PT Cruiser got an FR rating, so check that out.
Well, with that said, thank you all for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.